Okay, I think we're live. Hold on, I'm just taking a second to try because I got a message that said that we had an error. Um, but looks like we might be good to go. And I'm Rusty, and this is the Stunt Hangar Control Line Hangouts, and it's Monday night, June 22nd, 2020. And welcome to the show, everybody. And somebody out there on YouTube, looks like we got a couple of people pawing at the gate to get in already. Anybody that wants to tell me that they can see me, how about let me know that I'm live? Hey, Peter's already logged in. You
Hi.
see me, Peter? Okay, we're good to go. Okay, well, everybody, welcome, and we'll hang out here until about midnight. The links are posted in the usual places, which is if you want to come in with your camera and microphone on the stunthangar.com control line forums. If you are a member and if you are logged in to Stunt Hangar, then you can go to the At the Bench thread on the main forums page down. Scroll down below the open forums and you'll find the one called At the Bench, and the date of today's show is in the title, so you'll know you're clicking the right one. The link's in there, and everybody else, if you're not able to log into Stunt Hangar or prefer not to, you can go, as you probably already know, to the YouTube channel, the Stunt Hangar YouTube channel, and watch us there where there's a text chat box, and you can talk amongst yourselves and you can talk to us, and we'll talk back sometimes if you've got some comments, questions, and whatever else you bring to the party, bring it on. And so with that, just keep it family friendly and don't say anything you wouldn't want to say in front of your 8-year-old in the family room, and we'll get along fine. And it looks like we got Peter and Tom and Gary and me so far. So how are all you guys doing tonight?
Good. Yeah, we're doing good.
Oh, we got a little granddaughter there. Hey, my name's Rusty. What's your name?
I'm having trouble sitting down.
Say I'm Ava.
My name is
Ava. Hey, Ava. Nice to meet you. Wow, you're a lot prettier than your granddaddy. That's family room friendly, I think. But well, welcome to our show. So glad to have you. Do you ever go out with your granddad and play with his airplanes? Have you ever been out to fly planes with him?
Yeah.
He's my grandpa.
Hey, John. John Miller just joined us, and looks like Gerald Wimmer's out there on the YouTube side. He says he's painting a 67 Oldsmobile outside, so just listening tonight. 67 Oldsmobile, that could be a cool car. Some of those had pretty hot little small V8s in them, kind of the boxy years of the Oldsmobiles.
How long should the line be?
I have.
How long would the line be on that?
Everybody's talking at the same time. It's hard to hear what we're saying.
I said, how long would the lines be on a 66 Oldsmobile?
Pretty dadgum long, because it's going to have a pull to it, I guarantee you. You probably want to give it a little bit of nose in thrust and keep it going in a circle.
Really?
Probably wouldn't need any wingtip weight, you're saying.
I doubt it. You might need a ramp to get it airborne.
I don't like that. Well, that was a good thing.
Do you want to tell about your flight on a real airplane?
Oh, yeah, tell
us. When I was on a big airplane, it had a room where I get snacks, and then we flew to
Florida.
and then we flew to Florida on an airplane.
I bet that was fun.
It was great.
Were you able to look out the window and see the tops of the clouds as you flew over them?
Well, well, the some clouds were down where the water was.
Below
Yeah.
Blow us, because
you're so high.
we're so high.
Yeah, high and fast. That's so fun. I hadn't flown in a long time, but I remember I love looking down on the cloud tops and the bright sun reflecting off of them, and it's just something you can't see from down here, but up there it's a whole different look, isn't it?
That's silly.
How about, do you want to tell about your trip to the Boundary Waters?
Oh, we went to the Boundary Waters to camp.
Oh, what kind of camp's
It was
fun?
They,
had bathrooms outside.
they portaged in with a canoe.
Because we bought a canoe.
Oh, did you? Got a canoe. And did you go out and paddle? Did you get to paddle the canoe and ride around? And
A little bit of days we went there.
Several days.
Several days we went.
And did you go fishing while you were there?
Well, Dad caught one fish, and it was yummy because I tasted it. You got a fly. He got a fly.
Fly sauce.
Yeah, John's menacing there with a fly swatter.
This fly has been bugging me for 2 days.
Yeah, he knows it too. They're smarter than they look. Well, so y'all took that fish home and cooked him and ate him, huh? I love
eggs.
I love catching fish, and I love eating them as much as I love catching them.
You want to say good night? You probably should go to bed now. It's past your bedtime, isn't it?
I need to go to bed.
Okay, well, I thank you for coming and meeting us, and hope you have a good night and sleep tight, sweet dreams.
And then I can talk to you some more.
So yeah, you can come and visit anytime your grandfather wants you to come with him. We enjoyed it. It was so nice to meet you.
Say good night and wave good night.
Good night.
Wave your hand.
All right.
All right.
Good night. See you later, sweet tater.
I'm not a sweet tire.
Oh yeah, you are. She is a beauty. Well, that was a great way to start the evening off. I enjoyed talking to her. So how are you, grumpy old man, doing tonight?
Grumpy?
How are you? How are you, light-hearted old dudes doing tonight? How about that?
Old dude fits, yeah.
Yeah.
Doing good.
Doing pretty good, Rusty. Ooh, almost got him.
Yeah, you need, I don't have mine here. You need one of those high voltage fly swatters. Looks like a squash racket. And punch the button and charge it up. And those are more fun to chase flies with than you can actually. It's harder to. It's more fun to chase them than it actually is to swat them because they're so hard to hit. If you don't watch out, you're going to be knocking beers over and knocking lampshades off and everything else. But they're still a blast to play with.
It's such a satisfying sizzle when you hit them.
It does too. Yeah, crack, pop, and a little bit of smoke. A guy experimenting on YouTube one time took one up to a wasp nest on the side of his house and was dumb enough to give it a swat. And the last thing the camera showed was ass and elbows, him running away.
I believe it.
Well, the sound's good tonight, so let's see how long.
Well, that's good. Let's see if it holds on.
Yeah.
The bigger the crowd gets, the harder it'll be to maintain. But I'm hoping that it'll work out good. I had a little crackle in my sound the other night. Finally got it cleared up by rebooting, but we do everything we can, but we're at the mercy of the Jitsi. Yeah, pictures all look good tonight. Sound sounds good. So, and Jack Snavely just dropped in out there. Hey, Jack. Jack says hello all in the hangar or shop. Rusty and everybody else. Welcome, Jack.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Jack.
Everybody have a good Father's Day
Yeah.
Yeah.
or Grandfather's Day.
Yeah.
How are you set for kids, John? What have you got? Have you got kids with families?
Yeah, I do, but my family's all broken up, Rusty. My first set of kids, I allowed them to be adopted by their new stepdad. So I don't see or hear anything from them. And my last set, I haven't heard from in 30 years. So I guess have to say no. I don't have any. My wife's children and grandchildren. Now that's another story. They came up Saturday, helped me.
Oh, good. I'm glad you got so you got kind of a close relationship with them.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Everybody needs somebody.
Yeah, it's fun being a grandpa, you know.
Yeah, I never thought I wanted to be one, but now that I am, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, none of them have taken any interest in model airplanes.
Well, don't hold your breath. None of mine do either. And my son, although he has flown a plane and loves to watch me fly and come out and pit for me and that sort of thing, he doesn't really care to occupy his time with model airplanes, but that's okay. Yeah. He does lots of other stuff too. He's teaching himself how to weld right now, which is something I wish that I had done in my earlier days, is learn how to weld a little bit more. And all I learned how to do is weld iron with an arc welder, and I can do that pretty good, but all of the other types I just don't know. And hey, Sparky's got the June RXL out. Still looking good, man.
Yeah, but what the hell does this say? The room name is unsafe. What, you're using Jitsi now, huh?
Yeah. We had trouble with sound on my end, and I started checking back, and Jitsi was working, and I had the follow me along with other options, and so I went back to Jitsi, and it's working really well now. 8x8 owns Jitsi anyway.
Here's what it says. It says the room name is unsafe. Unwanted participants may join your conference.
Yeah.
Securing the meeting by using the security button.
Yeah, they want us to name it something that nobody could guess. I just name it the name, and the same naming scheme I've always used, and I hadn't had any problem. I only got that message once, and I've never seen it again. So it likes us to use those names it presents at first. Dumb otters eat socks or something like that. Let's see, it's an adverb, a verb, and an adjective. I think it's 3 phrases or words.
I got a cat that does that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm finally home after 6 months, so I'm playing in my shop.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you remember where everything is? That's what I had to. That's what I had to do when I got back to my shop, is find everything.
Nothing's moved. The trash is all in the same spot.
Yeah. What about your work? Have you still got a job in Dayton?
Yeah, I think so.
Good. Oh, I was awful sorry to hear about that. I never did really get to talk to you much since then, but that's just, I'm sorry. And hey, Bill.
Hello.
Hello, Bill.
Hi.
How are you tonight?
Oh, pretty good.
Happy Father's Day.
Oh, yeah.
So, Bill, do you have any kids that you had Father's Day with yesterday?
No.
You're too young for kids, aren't you?
I'm 63.
Oh, are you that old? Dang, you don't look it. You're only a year younger than me.
Just a kid.
He's still the youngest one in here.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
So I had a story to tell.
All right.
So I thought I'd go bass fishing tonight, and it wasn't any good, but I managed to snap my lure off when I casted. Somehow it snagged in the reel, and the lure is out in the pond. And then I got to thinking, well, I got a 31-foot pole I used for getting free flight or slope soaring planes out of trees. And I had binoculars, so, to spot things. So I found this lure, floating, and I had on boots that are probably about 1.5 feet high, and I walked out a little ways, and I managed to touch this lure, and I kept trying to bring it back, and I just couldn't seem to snag onto it. And finally I snagged onto it, and I lifted it back over the weeds, and of course it fell off in the weeds. So now I'm trying to find this lure in weeds that are 5 feet high, and darn if I didn't walk across it and heard the little noise, and sure enough I found it.
Really?
Yeah. And I thought all of that for about a $7 lure, but
Hey, at least you didn't fall down and, land in the water.
So I got the lure and went back to the car, and I brought my Stuntman 23 along, and I flew that.
Oh, good. How'd that go?
It went good. I did at least one loop on each flight, and I thought that's pretty good for that electric.
Yeah, I think once you get the hang of the Stuntman 23, you'll really like it. It's a pretty good flying little plane. Did you have enough power? Is your engine got enough grunt to haul it around pretty quick?
Yeah. I think I've only got about 26-foot lines or 28. I think maybe I could go a little bit longer.
I'd go with 35 if you got enough power. That's a minimum I'd use on a Stuntman, 30 or 35. Like I was saying the other night, when I go out half-A flying, the lines I use depends on the plane itself, but not only that, but it depends on the weather conditions too. So I'll take a set of 35s, a set of 40s, and a set of 45s for a really fast plane, and just use. In fact, I can take some. There are some planes, back in the day that I flew with 30 feet. So, but you just put whatever set seems to work the best on any given day. Half-A is a little different that way than stunt.
So there's this kind of in the outskirts of town there, and there aren't many houses around. So I think I could fly glow motors there. Well, I have. And the other thing that goes on there's those young kids are doing that drifting with their cars, and they got black marks all over the roads. And God, they just get in the road and they spin and spin. And I'm thinking, oh my God, was I ever that stupid? And how hard that's got to be on the tires.
Well, I was about to say, was I ever that rich that I could keep rubber on it?
That's why my tires are always bare.
Now, my 69 Chevelle SS would burn a set of tires off, but I didn't have to drift in order to do it. I just stomp on it, and they'd be they'd be gone anytime.
We weren't rich. We were more stupid, I think.
Yeah. Well, Bill, were you flying the stuntman over pavement or over grass?
Well, I take off the road and then I fly over the tall grass.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay, all right.
So what kind of lines are you using? Are you using steel lines or are you using fabric lines?
Yeah, I'm using those, the fish line that doesn't stretch.
Yeah, yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
I still pre-stretch it when I rig up the handles just in case it has a lot. It's not supposed to stretch, but I'm make sure of it. I'll tie it to the fence or something and back up and give it a good long tug, 10-second tug, and then let off before I tie them up.
Hey,
We've had
Peter.
some. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
Okay, Peter,
Yeah.
did you tie into that kit yet?
Nope.
Here, I've been waiting all weekend to see here.
Nope.
I'm going to switch over to grid view here. There we go, grid view. Do y'all like that better? Does it do it when I do grid view on my end? Do y'all switch over to grid view?
I was already on grid.
All
Yeah.
right.
I was on grid already too.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, my camera's froze.
Yeah, you're not moving.
Oink. Oh well.
So in Minnesota, it's been really windy until the last several days. We've had really good weather for a change.
That's all them protesters, all the hot air out of them protesters.
So
I heard it got up to 100 degrees somewhere in the Arctic Circle yesterday.
wow.
Global warming.
Oh gee.
Global warming.
It was hot there.
Flying in the last few days, I have 10 airplanes that are new that needed their maiden flight. 10 new airplanes that I've built. So I got at least 3 of them flown their maiden flight now.
That's good.
All went well.
They survived?
Yes, they're all on pontoons or either floats or the navigator's a flying boat. But yeah, flew off the water and flew around and landed. Everything went good.
We didn't have any
Excellent.
wind this weekend.
So this morning, the wind was supposed to be like 6 miles an hour out of the north. So I went slope soaring and I get up there and launch, and it was okay. I had a Radian Pro, it's a 2-meter foamy, and I was staying up for a while and doing pretty good. And it starts getting lower, and it's about the level that I'm at, and so I land, and then it starts to sprinkle. So I went home and then tried it again, went up in the afternoon and was flying. But the thing that kind of gets me is, like in the afternoon, that weather bug, it shows that the wind is 8 miles an hour and there's hardly a breath of wind. And there's other times that I know that, it's windy, and it's showing like 3 miles an hour, and it just doesn't seem that, I can understand the forecast not being accurate, but I would think that the real-time supposed data would be fairly accurate, but sometimes it just seems like it's so far off.
Wonder how high the elevation that wind. They've got to be doing Doppler shift on the radar, so that may be measuring the wind 100 feet above the ground or more.
Yeah. It all depends on where they're doing their readings from. In Florida, it's almost like pointless because quite literally, it's been in the 90s for the entire week, but quite literally you can turn around I can drive out my front door and be sunny, nice and sunny. I can go a quarter of a mile and it'd be pouring rain. I mean, quite literally here, you can, I've actually seen it where it's raining on one side of the street and it's not raining on the other side of the street.
That's what you call scattered showers.
It rains on the other side of the street. It's like, okay, I'm only going this far and I'm not going any further.
That's 50% chance when it's on one side. And
That's
then
right.
We
Yeah, I
have,
remember. I was
we have a
talking the other
saying
night
here,
about
if you
when
don't
we were
like the weather,
kids.
wait a minute.
I remember I was talking the other night about when we were kids and our neighborhood didn't have fences between the houses, and we'd look up in the summer and see rain coming, and we'd race it home and try to get home with the rain of 10 feet behind us the whole way. And sometimes we'd make the house, and sometimes we wouldn't before it overtook us. And then we'd get in the house, go into the carport or something like that, and 10 seconds later it would be all gone, and you could see the backside of it raining on your next door neighbor's house and going on down the road. Look up and see which cloud it's coming out of. We're supposed to have thunder showers tonight.
Here we get it a little different. We see it coming, but it evaporates before it hits the ground.
Yeah.
Hi, Lynn.
Hey,
Hey, how you doing, Len?
I'm doing
Hey,
all
Lance.
right. How you guys doing? Hey, gentlemen.
Pretty good.
That's good.
Any adventures in the great frozen Northland?
No, we flew today. Got some flying in.
Was your arms tired?
Still working.
What'd you fly?
I just flew a twister today. I had my Cardinal in the car, but we just flew a twister. We're not flying any big stuff really this year. I mean, we're still doing the social distancing thing, and we don't launch each other's airplanes. We're launching our own airplanes off Stooges all the time, so it's just easier to fly profiles.
Yeah.
Less monkeying around. And there's no contests up here this year anyway, so there's no sense in worrying about it. We're just fun flying, basically. So I won't be going to any contests till at least next year. So I'm not too worried about getting ready for anything.
You mean you're not going to come down here to Las Vegas and enjoy the November?
We'll be lucky if we can cross the border before the end of the year.
Well, they got you guys under lock and key, don't they?
You better believe it.
Yeah. They're serious about it.
Oh yeah, they take it pretty serious here. It's like, nope, we're not doing this. We're not opening it up. Okay. So yeah, all our contests and everything, we've canceled pretty well everything.
The prairie fires canceled, all of that?
I have no idea what's going on out west, but I know here in the eastern side right now, there's nothing planned at all. I mean, there may be something later in the fall, I don't know. But right now, there's nothing. There's nothing that's a definite right now.
Yeah, nothing is definite, period, right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Whether it's plans or what's going to be the outcome. So we just got to wait and see.
Take it one day at a time. Try to stay healthy.
Do the best we can to stay safe, and that's the only way.
That's right.
It's going to come back.
That's what we're going to do, is do the best we can and stay safe.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
just go on about your business. There's nothing to be worried about. It's all nonsense.
I always wanted to go up to some of the Canadian contests up there. You know, I've gotten to know a couple of the guys out in the west part of Canada.
Right.
But when they changed it to where I had to have my passport to go back and forth, that made it a little tough.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a passport. I'm an ex-Alaskan. I used to go across the border all the time.
All the time. I don't even know, what does it cost for a passport?
$80.
$80
Yep.
Okay.
and about 3 to 6 months.
Wow, does it really take that long? I didn't know it took any time at all. I thought you could just
Oh,
go
yeah,
get
it takes
it.
a while.
I don't think it does anymore.
You can get it quicker, but then it's going to cost you more. It's
Yeah,
more like
pay more.
$160.
Yeah, I have my passport to go there, so,
Yeah.
but I can't use it right now, so it's no good to me. By the time
Well,
I can come back there, I'll probably need a new passport.
Well, I like the good old days, when you could go up between Canada and the United States. It was just like driving to the next state,
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
I liked it that way.
Hey, Charles,
Sure,
I
I
didn't
would.
even notice when you popped in over there. How you doing tonight?
Doing well.
Did you have a good Father's Day? Did you have a
I
good
did.
Father's Day?
Yes, I did. Very good.
Y'all have a pizza party or what? What'd you do?
Well, I sat down and my kids and my wife gave me Father's Day gifts, and I think we went out to dinner. So it was nice. It
Good.
was nice.
Good
It's
stuff.
surprisingly nice. I didn't expect anything.
Yeah, my son went shopping for a new drill for me. He'd asked me earlier what I wanted for Father's Day, and I told him I wanted a 1/4-inch electric drill. And, I've got an old heavy 3/8 Black & Decker that has a busted chuck on it. And in order to chuck a bit in it, I can either use a hex bit or I have to take my brass bar and a hammer and bang the chuck down tight. And it's big and heavy and unbalanced. And I thought, a little 1/4-inch drill would be nice. And so he calls me from Lowe's and says, well, all I got is 3/8 and 1/2 inch. And he said, but, and so I got on and looked up Lowe's where he was shopping and found some 1/4-inch ones. And it turned out the 1/4-inch drills had the same motor as the 3/8 drills and a little bit stronger battery. And so he went ahead and got me a 3/8, but they're so much smaller and lighter, and it's nice. It's a DeWilt brand, and it comes in.
Hey, that's what I have, Rusty.
Is it?
I have
And
the same one. It's fantastic.
It's nice and light, and with
20
the battery in it, it balances beautifully.
Oh, yeah. 20
And
volts?
it's not a hammer drill, it's just a
That's right.
variable speed.
Awesome.
Nice.
I think you're wise.
20 volt?
I think you're wise getting the 3/8 drive because it allows you to use a few more bits, that you might.
Exactly.
Yeah. The only difference between the 1/4-inch and the 3/8 is the motor is the same, the battery's a little bit better than the smaller drill, and the chuck is bigger. So, and they both weigh the same thing except for probably a slightly different battery rating. But it's great, man. I'm happy with this.
Is it 20 volt?
No, it's 12 actually, but it came with 2 batteries and the charger with a 60-minute charge time. So I should be able to keep it hot for the entirety of a job.
It'll be fine for a hobby tool. It'll be great.
Yeah, for home use, it's great. For contractor grade, you'd ruin it in a hurry. But for home use, it's good. And this is a hell of a nice, big, heavy duty case. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
Battery's got a storage charge on them now, so I got one of them over there charging up and put that one in it for demonstration purposes. But yeah, I need to go out and do some drilling. I started working on a chair in the shop the other day that had started coming apart, and so now I can drive some deck screws down in there with no problem, which I couldn't do with my little baby Black & Decker. It's more of a screwdriver than a drill.
Yeah, exactly.
But this will do the job. This is a great in-between size. and it weighs so much less than that dang big old Black & Decker 3/8 I had.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I got no use for a 1/2 inch. You know, the only thing I've ever used a 1/2 inch drill for is when I'm finished putting a car engine together to put my dummy distributor shaft in it and spin the oil pump up. And that's the only thing I've ever used a 1/2 inch drill for.
I used to use a 1/2 inch drill as a mixer for my mud for my drywall.
Yeah, I guess that's got the grunt.
Yeah, or if you're drilling through concrete and trying to put big holes in, you need to have a real drill.
A
Yeah.
Monterey drill.
Hammer drill.
See, I probably couldn't pick up a 1/2 inch drill these days.
See, I have a 1/2 inch hammer drill, but I need it when I'm drilling holes in concrete and stuff like that. You gotta have it.
That's some serious drilling there. Yeah.
Airplanes
Oh, yeah.
I'd like that.
I don't need it for model airplanes.
You don't need a hammer drill on balsa. I would like to have one though, just a small one, but I don't. Maybe next Father's Day.
If I want to do that, all I do is drive the airplane into the ground at 100 miles an hour by mistake.
Yeah, that's a one lick stick. That's what I call my mini sledge, the one lick stick.
Yeah.
Which is missing. I cannot find my little mini sledge. I don't want to have to buy a new one. I got another head. I got a cross peen head that weighs the same thing, but it doesn't have a handle. And I can't seem to find a place to buy a hammer handle. I guess you gotta buy just a piece of stock that's made to be shaped and get it on the belt sander and shape it up.
Ace Hardware.
Really? I thought I'd looked at Ace, but I'll double check because we got a big Ace.
What do you think of that
That's
one?
the kind of sledge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine was a Craftsman with a 10-inch handle, and I liked it because I could get up under a car, you know, and hammer, you know, use it to back out a pilot bearing or get some swing action on it without the handle being in the way. Because I'm not getting up under any more cars now. My days of that are done, but I still that mini sledge comes in handy. I used to, whenever I'd go somewhere and thought I might need tools, that hammer went with me everywhere I went. So.
Or you never know when you might need to keep somebody in line.
Yeah.
I've got the smaller one like you're talking about, Rusty. But I used to use that. I used to backpack up in the mountains here, and there was
tent stakes.
Huh?
Tent stakes. Yeah.
Well, no. I'd use it. I'd find things like I found one big rock that had fallen from a cliff way up above, and there was a vein of pure silver metal. So I don't know what it was, but it was about maybe 1.5 inches thick. And I got a cold chisel and, just bang on that thing and chisel that kind of stuff out. I used to throw it in the back of the pack for that. But since I gotten older, I really can't backpack anymore like I used to up in the mountains. So it all sits there gathering rust.
Rust and dust.
Better rust than dust.
Yeah, I hate it when I go out. And my tools have been so inactive that they're getting a little mildew sometimes on them now. I hate opening up the toolbox and smelling mildew. That's just wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, just shows we're all getting younger every day.
Every day.
Question that, okay, I can understand Rusty having his drill handy there, but why in the world would John find the necessity to have a sledgehammer sitting by his desk? Video chats.
Sometimes
Let me check. Maybe mine's over here and I just haven't seen it.
Some of them flies are tough.
Yeah, you got to be strong to swing that thing fast enough to hit a fly with it.
Well, you wait till you
don't hit him if he lands on your knee.
You put down some honey on the top of the desk, right?
Mm.
And then you drop the hammer on it.
Then you can
Well, if he lands on your knee, don't use the hammer on him.
Actually,
oh, God.
Actually, I just bought the darn thing. You know, I'm putting up a new antenna for my ham radio, and I need this to drive the stakes for the tie-out.
Yeah, but John, I find you do it on my Twitch and I have to go to the garage to get it. I wouldn't be sitting next to me.
If it was in my garage, I wouldn't be able to find it.
John, just don't touch any electrical wires while you're doing that.
Say what, Tom?
I said, just don't touch any electrical wires while you're doing that.
I've been there, done that.
Yeah,
Hey, Sparky, what you doing with the Juno? Are you going to take it to the Nats this year?
Yeah, that's what my plan is.
Not the Tucker?
No, it won't be done.
Oh,
So I fixed the hole in the wing and just doctored it up. And I'll paint the numbers on it tomorrow.
well, looks good.
yeah, it looks good, Sparky. I'm reminiscing flying that plane.
Yeah, I haven't done anything to it since you flew it. So
Doesn't need anything. Doesn't need anything.
polishing it up and fixing the holes and fixing the paint on it. Yeah, we put that hole in there at the Nats there on the L-pad.
I know. I was so glad it wasn't me.
Somebody put a finger through it.
Oh, look, Ethel, that's paper.
No. Put it on the ground, and if you ever been to the Nationals, the parking lot is gravel, 3/4 inch gravel.
Yeah.
I set my carrier down in the gravel. I put the airplane in the car, and the carrier picked up a rock. And when I went to set it over the airplane in the car, the rock fell off and went right through the covering.
Oh, shit.
Oh, God.
Man.
That sucks.
So then I had to tape it up so Charles could finish out his weekend.
No, wasn't that the after I flew it? I think I was already done.
I don't think you were done. No, that was the first day of qualifying that happened. You flew,
All right.
you flew it afterwards with a piece of tape on it.
I didn't think you'd put tape on that plane.
I did. I taped the hole up so you could finish off the contest. Because if I wouldn't, if you would have been done, I wouldn't have put tape on it.
Right. That's what I expected. Yeah.
That makes sense.
But it had them stickers on there, and they came off all right. You know, I had heated them up and they peeled off.
Yeah, I noticed I was missing my numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a big frame picture in my hallway of me holding that plane, and Gene Martin, or whatever his name is, Gene Martin.
Yeah.
You took a nice picture of me holding your plane, and I see it all the time. And I have that same picture on my wallpaper on my computer. So I'm, you know, when I look at those pictures, I just can't believe it. I just thank the Lord. I go, thank you, Father God, for that. Being able to fly at the Nats and then fly probably one of the prettiest planes there on top of that.
It wasn't the prettiest plane there.
No, I'm saying, but one of the prettiest. It wasn't the prettiest, but it was in that top echelon, that's for sure.
So Charles, I was watching some of your YouTube flights.
Yeah, I saw you subscribed, and I subscribed to your channel too. Thanks for watching. What do you think?
Well, I was nervous when you were flying that Nobler over the blacktop, and it seemed like it was windy that day. And
it was.
It went well, but
How heavy is Nobler?
That was a heavy Nobler too.
That's no good. 40 ounces, what it's got to be, 40 ounces.
Yeah. So you saw the video of me flying the Nobler. Did you see anything else, Bill?
You were flying something else in a park, and it seemed like there was a lot of traffic driving by close by.
Yeah, that's where I practice at. And
Uh-huh.
that probably was, I flew the Strega there, and I've also flown a top flight score. And it's a video of me flying that plane that's right there in front of Sparky. There's a video of me flying at the nets on my channel also.
Okay.
Who took that video?
Yours truly, you did.
Man, I didn't think I watched it.
I watch it all the time.
No, I didn't
watch
think I watched you fly my airplane.
Yeah, I'm totally blessed, and I appreciate it, Sparky, being to fly your airplane. That was a great experience. I'll never ever forget it.
I'm glad you had fun.
Sure did. It's a bucket list kind of thing for me, so I really appreciate it.
That's what's known as paying it forward.
Right.
I should have let you fly my other airplane that I flew, though, the piped airplane. I probably would have made the cut. So we're gonna fly this one this year.
All right, you better make the cut.
I'll try. This one here flies so good it about flies itself.
It definitely is. It's one of the best flying planes I can remember ever flying. If I flew a better plane, I don't remember if I have. I know when I came back, I was so disgusted with all of my airplanes.
Well, what did they say? Start building.
A light airplane is where it's at. I mean, I'm convinced of that. Matter of fact, I've come into some light airplanes. I haven't built any yet, but I have a 38 ounce Olympic with that's with an OS 35, and I have some other light planes. I have like quite a bit of light planes now. They just fly so much better. It's like
those are classic airplanes, or you need a light Pampa airplane.
Yeah, no, I'm working on that. I just have classic. I have some really light classic airplanes now. They're all super duper light.
If you can keep a Pampa airplane under 64 and use the 15,000th lines, you're at an advantage. But if you can keep it under 60, you got 4 ounce advantage. And anything under 60 is a given. I mean, it's a plus. So shoot for 64, no more than 64. And that's too heavy.
We'll do. Absolutely.
You're building lumber wagons. Them Stregas are ridiculous.
I know. I told you why I'm building it, just for expediency, to get appearance.
Is it done yet?
No.
So it wasn't too expedient, was it?
Well, hey, if I was building something else, it still wouldn't be done either. So it's not the Strega. It's just this. Just stuff getting in the way.
Now my big Tucker's sitting over there. I'm probably going to paint it tomorrow. Paint it white, get the base on it. But that's been an hour a day, and that's 3 months old. So you should have 5 airplanes built as long as you build Strega.
Trust me, I know that, man. You're definitely proofs in the pudding, and you have plenty of proof.
I got too many airplanes.
Sparky, you're a building machine.
No. Something to do.
I know, but you're good at what you do.
How long have you been
Many years of practice.
I built 1 or 2.
Oh,
Sparky, how long are you
100.
in St. Louis now?
Week.
1 week?
Yeah. Yeah, a week's worth of work. I got a bunch of stuff I need to do around here. Fix the garage roof, fix the toilet downstairs, get my car inspected, get tags on it. There's just a bunch of shit.
I understand that.
Life never stops.
It doesn't.
It just keeps coming. It's like, oh my God. You just get one thing sorted out, and then another thing happens, and you got to deal with it. It's like, oh my gosh, never ends.
Never
Always
ends.
maintenance too. I had the both extension springs on the garage door broke.
Oh yeah, just wonderful, eh? Just wonderful. Not.
At least I ended up replacing with a torsion spring now.
The bad thing is when one thing breaks, everything breaks.
Oh yeah, exactly. When it goes bad, it goes all bad. But you know, the whole secret is how you deal with it, not whether or not it happens. You know it's going to happen. It's just how you deal with it. That's the secret.
That's right. That's exactly right, Lynn. It's how you deal with problems that matters.
Yeah. The guy who deals with problems the best wins. It's even kind of that way in stunt, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, when your crap isn't working, the guy who can sort it out the quickest and the best, he wins.
I found that it's a series of, how to put it, you take one problem at a time and you keep curing it. You learn how to build a straight airplane.
Be right there, Naomi.
Then you learn how to trim an airplane correctly. Then you learn how to make an engine run right. Or go to electric and learn how to make that work. It's all things, but as you keep eliminating these problems in there, you start finding that now you're flying the airplane and learning the pattern better, and you're not messing with trying to figure out an engine run or why the darn thing quits halfway through the pattern or things like that. That's what, in competition, that's what makes the difference. I think Carl's is trying to agree.
I'm agreeing. I just got this coffee to wake me up here. Gotta wake up.
I can tell you this, after the gnats, I'm going to strip the covering off this and refinish this one.
Really?
Why?
Because it's got problems. Not fresh anymore. But it's such a good flying airplane, it needs to be made fresh again.
Absolutely, a great flying plane.
You get one of them wheels that click, all the numbers are right. I got my Tucker that I built to the same numbers, but I bet it won't be the same.
Tucker's lighter, isn't it?
Might be. Funny thing, when you're building out of living things, out of wood, you know, this part of the wood may be lighter than the center section, dense, and so, you know, things change around, and just the combination, every once in a while you'll get an airplane that, you know, it just clicks.
Yeah, things you just can't calculate.
Yeah, I mean, because you can build two airplanes side by side. If I'd have built another one exactly like this with the same numbers and straight and the same weight, it wouldn't fly the same. Close, but not the same.
Yeah.
You know, doing this slope soaring where I live, there's just like no room to land really to speak of. But, you know, I think it's like control line. It's like there's no margin of error, you know. I mean, you got to do it right or it's going to be bad.
You don't just reach up and fly it into your hand?
Oh, well, guys, I'm going to hit it.
All right, Sparky. Good seeing you again, man.
Take care, Sparky.
Talk to you guys later.
Yeah.
All right. See you later, Sparky.
Bye.
Bye.
Steve's here.
Is Steve here?
Hell, his box
Yeah.
got his initials in it.
All right.
Yeah, SH. SH is here.
And L just went dark.
L comes and goes. Sometimes he does it on purpose.
Can you hear me?
Hey, Steve. Yeah, we hear you.
The area.
It's here.
Happy Father's Day or late Father's Day.
Thank you. Hope everybody had a good Father's Day. So
Yeah, did Samantha come and help you celebrate Father's Day?
yeah, they were gonna take me out to eat, but I won't go to a restaurant, so they ordered it pickup or whatever. I went to their house and they went to Olive Garden and got all my favorites and stuff. So it was
Cool.
Nice.
yeah. So what do you think was wrong with the car?
Okay, I'm going to say the MAF sensor.
Crankshaft sensor.
It
Hey,
was
something real quick I want to tell you guys before I left.
oh
If you
All right.
don't think this COVID-19 crap is rigged, go on to Google and type any three numbers. Any three, like 999, 961, 421, and new cases. Like just pick a 3-digit number. You can pick a 4-digit number because I tried them, and write new cases, and it'll say that's how many cases there are new. It's weird.
Wow.
Just try it.
Wow. Weird.
They're rigging it. All right, guys. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
Mm.
it
So what
was
was
Steve, give us the answer. What was it?
it was the
Tell a couple.
it was low on blinker fluid.
Yeah.
I'll have to tell a couple of my.
It was actually
Do they sell that at Walmart?
yeah. It was the fuel regulator.
Oh.
The
That
fuel
was in the
pressure regulator?
Yeah, the fuel pressure regulator. And what the guy said is that once he got on there, he could tell right away it was working, but he says since it was before they put alcohol and gasoline, that the new gas with the ethanol in it screws with the aluminum or something, and it makes it like gummy and it moves really slow. That's why it would start out okay. And we thought it was, had to warm up. It was gradually getting to the right pressure. Then if you went too fast, it acted up on the expressway, and then it would come back. And if you drove like 20 miles, the damn thing ran great because the regulator finally found the right pressure for the fuel.
What'd they charge you?
$121.
Not bad.
Not bad.
No. So,
So what did you do? Take it to somebody different? Because you said other people had looked at it and nobody could figure it out. So you must have found a real technician.
Just guys that that are mechanics and stuff. And my one buddy there, that Pat, that flies with us and everything. He thought it was fuel pump, and he said it's like it's not getting the right fuel pressure. But he couldn't figure out why it would change and run good and not. But they could see it on that machine they put it on by how lean it was, and that's something we couldn't see. We could watch it go lean, and then it would go up, and then if you drop back down, it'd be too rich, and then it would finally find its. Yeah, it took me. The only thing was they wanted $395 to fix it. I went and got the part. Cost me $29 plus tax, and I replaced it in 5 minutes. It's the only thing. It's the only thing on that car that's easy to get to. It's right on top, and nothing else around it.
Very good.
Where's it located?
It is on the
Where's it located?
On the one end of the fuel rail, on the driver's side, on the far end.
Okay.
Okay.
That's how my blazer is.
Yeah.
And
my
man,
blazer.
that's good.
Yeah,
That's great. That's why the previous owner had ditched it, isn't it? And didn't you say that's why to get rid of it?
Yeah, because nobody could figure it out. And I told her, I said, you should have just taken it to Honda. But after I screwed with it for like 3 or 4 weeks, I took my own advice.
Yeah.
You know, and the guy there
Good.
told me, he says, yeah, if it would have failed, it'd have been easy to figure out because it stays there all the time.
Yeah.
Is by being gummed up or from the alcohol in the fuel. He said the new ones are meant to take that alcohol. I don't know if there's a rubber grommet in there or how it works. You know, what would the alcohol would mess up.
Is that one that's controlled by vacuum or is it electric?
Yeah, it's controlled by vacuum.
Yeah.
So with it being gummed up, the vacuum pulling on it, or I guess the spring pushing it down, it just reacted so slow. But I can't believe how good the car runs now. I mean, it's the smoothest idling, smoothest running. That thing will just, you nail it with that VTEC.
That's cool.
It's great.
That's awesome. Happy for you, man.
Yeah, I think though, I must have pissed off the Honda gods because I went to start my outboard motor today and it won't start. And it's like, what the hell? It ran when I put it away. So that's something tomorrow I got to look at because I got spark and I put in new spark plugs even, but maybe it's the coil. I don't know because I can put gas in it and it won't do nothing. But I'll figure it out.
Outboard motors just totally stump me. I've never been able to fix an outboard motor.
Well, this is just like the Honda. Basically, it's a Honda lawnmower engine, I guess, or a motorcycle engine. It's just water cooled in there, overhead valve.
Yeah.
You know, and it should be fine. The only thing is, when I opened up took the top off it, there was a mouse nest in there about that big.
Oh.
But I can't find a wire they chewed or anything like that. You know, it's like, well, damn.
How many horsepower?
10. Or,
Guess
well,
they've been eaten out.
it's a 7.5 that I changed, made it 10 by knocking out that little knockout in it. I don't know if anybody knew that or not, but on a Honda 7.5 and the 9.9, the manual is the same for both. And I got looking at it, and I'm like, well, what's different on this? So I read in there, they said there was a knockout. So I pulled the carburetor off. The intake manifold is half blocked by a little fine piece of aluminum. All you do is take a pair of pliers and grab on it, bend it back and forth, pop that out. You now got a 9.9.
Wow.
Wow.
But it has to do with warranty and stuff.
Oh crap! That's a big difference.
Yeah, but if you do that while it's under warranty, you void the warranty.
So
but that's the only difference in it. Every single other part is exactly. Even if you buy a new manifold, it is the same manifold for both, but it comes as a 9.9. They don't make it as not aftermarket, but the replacement manifold is. They don't have a 7.5 and a 9.9 manifold. They just give you more horsepower then. But I got to figure out why that. One thing I can think of is that the coil went bad sitting there. I haven't ran it in 40 years. You know,
Yeah, but if you get spark, the coil should be okay.
I need to get. I seen there's like a test spark plug thing that you can for CDIs to see if it has enough oomph to spark under compression. But I don't know. I've never used one, but I'm going to try to buy one.
Yeah, they work.
Do they?
Yeah, they work this way. Actually, the easiest way to do is just unscrew the spark plug, make sure it's grounded somewhere against the engine, and then give it a pull and see if you can see it arc. I mean,
yeah, it does arc, but on Google it said that under compression it may not arc.
That's usually not at least in my history, in my experience, anything that actually gave you a spark outside the engine will give you a spark inside the engine.
Okay.
Yeah, I have an inline ignition spark tester.
But basically, I had a similar problem with my motorcycle. I turned around and I had it sit for about a year, and all of a sudden it won't run off a choke. I mean, it would start, but I'd have to choke it a whole bunch. Then it would run real crappy. And then I'd let off on the choke. It would just stall. It wouldn't run at all. And turns out that the pilot jets got clogged. And it was not gas was not that old, about a year old, but it was enough to clog up the pilot jets where it wouldn't run under anything but choke.
Well, it has like a Venturi thing on it that points down. I flipped around and pointed up so I could pour some gas in it. It wouldn't start then.
Oh.
The new plugs, I tried starting fluid. It won't start.
Huh.
It won't fire, spark, nothing, unless there's like something in there with reeds or whatever on because it's a single carburetor on, a double manifold, but it doesn't seem like, there'd be reeds or something in there. And I thought, well, maybe something's stuck in it and ain't sucking it in. But yeah, the Honda gods are just against me right now, I guess. And that thing always started like first or second pull. It was like me and Braden put it on there. We changed the oil, we changed the gear lube, all that. I said, all right, hell, we pull on that thing so much, neither of us could pull it anymore. We were taking turns and still got so tired we couldn't crank it.
So what you got going on tonight, Trey?
Oh, not much. I just I went flying.
Hey, Trey, did you have a good Father's Day?
Yeah, I guess it was good.
He guesses. Either was or it wasn't.
Not in the garage.
No, I'm not. Not tonight. Not tonight. Bill, I put something in a chat box for you. Did you ever look at that ring rats?
Not yet. What is it called? Ring rats?
Ring rat, yeah.
Ring rat. Look at the link I put in a chat box. So
Okay.
I went
flying a little airplane.
Yeah. So I went flying, and the biggest thing I've learned from just the very short session that I had is the value of having an adjustable
Do you go
push
by
rod
yourself?
for your. Yeah.
Do you go flying by yourself?
Yes, I did. I did go a little bit. Yes. Yeah. So one thing I found is the value of having an adjustable push rod between the flaps and the elevator. I think that's critical.
Did you go flying by yourself, Trent?
Yes.
Yeah, you said you can't hear him?
For some reason, I don't think you can hear us. Rusty, can you hear me?
Hey, Rusty.
Ring rat. Yeah, it's one word. Ring rat.
Rusty, can you hear us? Hello, Rusty.
He can't hear us.
Something's wrong with
Rusty,
this.
can you hear me, Rusty? I guess he can't hear us.
No.
He's probably looking at chat box. So he could probably just chat to Russ.
Rusty. No, he's frozen up or something.
Rusty!
He's moving.
Yeah, he's moving.
He's moving real slow then. Oh, there he is.
Can you hear us, Rusty?
Can you see us?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I guess he can't hear us. I guess. So anyway, try on the adjustable push rod between the elevator and the flaps.
Yes, it's critical.
Well, I agree. I'm actually thinking about on this Strega that I'm building, have access to the flap horn, so I can adjust the push rod from the bell crank as well. I know your Evolutions already
I
does
think
that.
we got a
Yeah.
problem with Trey's
Yeah.
audio.
No, it's not.
I
It's
can. I'm not
sure.
sure we don't have a bad delay.
No,
No,
I
it's
can
your.
hear.
It's you can't hear trying. We hear trying fine.
Yeah, but everybody can hear me fine, and
Yeah.
I can hear everybody fine. So it's
Can you
not
hear me?
my end.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hear you?
Yep.
he's gone.
he's gone.
Yeah.
He's out of here.
Yeah.
So
So anyway, that trying. Go ahead. You said I guess you made some adjustments and noticed a difference.
I think there's three critical things in a plane besides building it straight and putting some motor offset on it, like say 3 degrees in the motor offset, you know. But the other three are tip weight box, lead out guides, and this adjustable push rod.
Yeah.
If you can add to it an adjustable throw on the elevator, it's even better. I mean, you are set with those things. So the method to my madness is that sometimes you fly a plane and it's turning faster inside and slower on the outside, or vice versa. It's slower on the outside and faster on the inside on the response, you know,
Right.
on what you're using for your input, right? And
Right.
we're all different, right? So sometimes you may want a little bit of this, a little bit of that, or something like that. But by adjusting the push rod length over there, it will bring in everything equally to turn inside and outside. A lot of us are doing what I call a fake adjustment in biasing on the handle, just getting your lines lower here or upper here or something like that. But all it does, if they're low, they always pull you up, right? So by doing that, you have an easier up line because it's easier to pull up, right? And it's harder to push down. So, but that's not optimal, right? Because all the time you fly with them like that, right? You just put pressure,
Right.
put pressure against it. The best is just they are center in your line, so your line, your hand is nice and comfortable, right? And when you give up, you give it down, it's the same amount of pressure. It's just comfortable to fly, right?
Right.
So the idea is to just change the bias between the flaps and elevator just ever so slightly. It's not a whole lot, but just a tiny bit, right?
Right.
And a tiny bit goes a long way. I mean, a long way.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking less than 1/16 of an inch. You're going to give you a huge difference.
Right.
So
can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were all trying to talk to you, Rusty, and you couldn't hear.
I know that was irritating as shit. I could hear you and see y'all fine. It didn't look like anything was wrong to me, but everybody kept telling me to reboot. So I had already reset at that time. So okay.
So
yeah, we're good now.
Yeah. So what I did is that you know, when I was flying, I noticed that I have to put a bit more effort into the up to make the plane turn upwards versus down. Down was like a click and the plane was like just turned, right? And it was so effortless, right? But on up, I had to put a little bit of effort into it. So what I did is basically what you would do, so I needed more up. So it's the same like dropping the flaps down a little bit. So your push rod will get a little bit shorter in that case, right?
Right.
So as soon as I did that, but just a small amount, this was a tiny bit of amount, and it's big enough so that when you build the plane, you can introduce it into the plane without even recognizing it.
Right.
It's there because it's just a small, tiny amount of it.
Right.
And once I did that, man, just the plane just all of a sudden just started to behave like a bam. I just go like boom, and the plane just changes directions like that.
Right. You got wheels that hang down lower than the airplane, and so it tends to always turn outsides faster than insides.
I don't think it's significant.
If you figure, I don't know how much pressure would be on there, but then you got, the arm, and multiply it out. But it's enough to where Bob Hunt could really see it, and he showed it in the video by retracting the landing gear.
Okay.
You know, or get an airplane that you can hand launch, a small one, fly it with the gear on it, take the gear off and fly it, and see what a big difference it is.
Well, long story short, it's a valuable asset to have.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
It's if you build a plane, you should have that. And another thing I'm using a whole lot on the plane, it's the elevator throw, right? So what happened is that I start to play it with other CG locations. So I move my CG forward and stuff like that. But as soon as you do that, you notice the lack of the loss in cornering ability and turnability, right?
Right.
And as well as an increase in line tension. But what I've noticed is that sometimes it's very easily you can easily overcome that by just adding a tiny bit of elevator throw. So what I've done after that, I just move my push rod on the bell crank in this case, because that's what my adjustment is. But then this sliding bell cranks or stuff like that on the elevator that you get, and I'm talking very small amounts, less than 1/60 of an inch, just added a little bit of elevator, right? And that goes a long ways. And you can get to you fine tune the plane to the point that it's like it reacts to your input. And this is a personal thing, because some people may hammer it harder here and softer here, or harder here and softer here on an up line. So whatever your preference are, or whatever your flying style is, you can dial it into your flying style.
Right.
So I think that's very critical. And then you look at it, it's like, well, I think I want a little bit more corner, so just move the elevator in, just give it a little bit more throw, and I think that's super valuable to any plane that you build, and it doesn't take much.
Yeah, I agree.
Trey, I pretty much agree with all that you said, except for one thing I have a little reservation on. And that is using 3 degrees of out thrust.
Okay.
I subscribe, and I've used always, since I first heard about it from Ted Fancher and the top West Coast experts here. Ted recommends, and they recommend, just enough out thrust to make sure you don't have any in thrust, because it sets your airplane up in a yaw. And aerodynamically, you want it to fly as clean as you can, that circular path. You don't want to introduce any extra. But everything else you said, I agree with. You're absolutely dead on.
Yeah. About the 3 degrees, I used neutral, and I also used 3 degrees. And to me, it was always better with just a tiny bit of out thrust. 3 degrees is not a whole lot, but now if you go 5, 6, 10 degrees or some shit like that,
Well, I'm one that's in favor of 1.5 to 2 degrees of down thrust, and I catch hell for that all the time. People don't believe me, so I say that's fine. You know, my planes don't hunt.
I think that's a lot of. Fitzgerald did a test a while ago, and he was testing different kinds of elevators, shapes, and airfoils and stuff like that. So what he found out is basically, like, I think everybody pretty much knows his findings. The best one was the airfoil shaped. Then the next best one was the 2 flat ones, where the front one is thicker than the elevator part of it. And then the flat one was the worst of all of them. So and also he said, like, the ones that kind of equal shapes, and one is bigger, one is narrower, or stuff like that. He was putting some positive angle of incidence on it a little bit to make it stop hunting. But airfoil was the best overall. So
that's absolutely right, Trey. We found here that where you have, like, for instance, a 3/8 inch stab, 3/8 inch thick stab, and a 1/4 inch.
I usually put 2
millimeter. You wind up, what you have is you have a dead airspace there. When you come to your intersections at your 8s, you get a hesitation there. It doesn't respond immediately. And so we went back to, if we had 3/8 stab, we had 3/8 elevators. We went there so that when you made that transition, it would not give you a flat spot there while it was trying to decide or catch up to what you were doing. Found it worked a lot better for us that way. But I like to use an airfoil stab like you do, and I put about a half a degree of positive incidence in that stab, and as well as 1.5 to 2 degrees of down thrust on the front. It's done me wonders.
Good. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Keep it going and everything works, you know.
Yeah. Mine, everything it's in line 0, 0, 0 everywhere except for a little bit about thrust. That's all I have.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's other than a 0 on my plane.
Yep.
And you know, it tracks nicely, it flies nicely. Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you guys one thing. If you on the horns that Morris makes that are adjustable for your elevator throw,
right?
You got to look at them because the way they're set up is all the way up. They're 1-to-1, and then you can slow it down. Well, you want to be able to add elevator also. You know, because they usually say 1-to-1 on a heavy airplane and a little more elevator on a lighter airplane, plus flaps. But you can't do that on some of them style. I had a special one made so I could go both ways with it. In the center, it's at 1-to-1. Now I can move it down to give less elevator, or move it up to give more elevator.
Good catch, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got to be able to go both ways for trimming an airplane. I mean, if you can't add elevator to it and it's all the way up, what do you do then?
Yeah. So what I have to say about that is look at the bell crank holes, and also depends on the plane build, right? Light planes need less flap deflection. Heavy plane need a little bit more flap deflection.
Right.
Now, I think putting over 30 degrees of even over 20 degrees of flap deflection on any plane will become like a parachute, and it slows it down without creating any extra lift. So I would just limit it to about 20 degrees of flaps. Now, if you need more corner, you need more elevator or more aft CG. It all depends on what you're flying, so that you have to customize your setups for the plane that you are flying. So to me, a heavy plane inherently will track very well, but will not corner. So for a heavy plane, I don't worry too much about the CG position because it's going to track very well because it's heavy. So I would set up the CG more aft to help with the corner, and have more almost 1-to-1 flap to elevator ratio on those planes. If it's a light plane, which likes to hunt and it gives you a little bit more issues, right? Then I would favor a more forward CG with a less flap throw and more elevator throw. And I'm thinking just this the general direction I would go, just by saying like this plane is heavy or is light or whatever, you know. Just
Steve, along with what you were saying about the adjustability on the elevator, if you do like Treyan is suggesting here, and you limit your flap, say to between 20 and 26, 27 degrees maximum flap, and give yourself 30 to 32, 34 degrees of elevator, both up and down, now you're already overclocked, you might say.
Yeah.
And it's easy to bring it down or bring it up to bring the amount down as you get it, if you have a heavy airplane. It's like if you set it up for 1-to-1 when you build it first off, you have to do what you had to do to be able to get enough elevator.
Yeah. And what we found, you know, like Train was saying about the adjustment is so fine.
Yep.
That we put a little more elevator in Samantha's airplane. We took the world championship, and I mean, we were adjusting just a little bit, and I mean, once you get past that one spot, I mean, it's like, holy cow, how much it reacts, you know?
Yeah.
And we end up having to play with it because it didn't take very damn much. And I told Samantha, I said, we need 1-to-1 and then be able to adjust it that a half an inch is only like a 30 seconds of an inch move. I mean, it was just how fine it was just unbelievable. We finally stopped.
I seldom ever set my planes up for 1-to-1 initially. You know, I've always set them up at about that 2 to 3 ratio, and that allows me to take it to 1-to-1 should that be what's necessary, but it also allows me to go the other way and reduce the amount of flap compared to elevator. In other words, it gives me more adjustability in my flap to elevator ratio, and that's what Treyon's talking about, is having that adjustability.
Well, he can adjust so much stuff on his. I mean, it's just.
Well, I can do that on mine too. Maybe not as slick and neat looking as Treyon's, but you know, it's set up to do that.
Yeah. But Steve, I concur with, I confirm what you just found over there, because 1/32 of an inch more extra on a push rod on your elevator throw, it's a lot, you know, because I haven't had to go more. Even if I go 1/16 of an inch on my elevator throw in my setup, it's noticeable.
Well, what we found out was if you had too much elevator to flaps, when you come out of a square, the son of a bitch would bounce. And once we started dropping that back, getting more closer to 1-to-1, then she could come out and lock that in. Well, but I mean, it was such a fine tuning deal with her over the bounce to the lock. It was.
Here's my theory of trimming. It's highly complicated, right? This is the theory. Do something. If it's better, you are going in the right direction.
Right. Yeah.
If it's worse, you are not going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right. That's very good.
I stop right there, right? So the idea is that, well, let's try this flaps movement. Okay, let's try 15 degrees flap movement, and then you set your elevator to get your turn ratio that you want, right? How does it look? Is it looking good? Is it looking bad? Well, let me try 10 degrees flap movement. Adjust the elevator to get the same response on the plane. Is it better than it was before, or worse? And go from there. Because I think every plane would just have an ideal ratio, depending on the plane weight, depending on the aerodynamics of the plane, and many other factors. But simple, you know, make a change. If it goes in the right direction, you're doing something right. If it goes in the wrong direction, you're doing something wrong. So you need to go opposite direction. Simple as that.
Well, just remember though, everybody, that a little bit is good. Doesn't mean a lot is better.
Yeah, of course.
So, when you guys are making adjustments, like how do you do it? Like what I do is this might be too complicated, but you know how when you make that adjustment on these push rods, we have flaps of the nut, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what I use, I will put I have a black Sharpie. I'll put a black Sharpie on that face, and then I will turn it up, and then I'll put a yellow on that face that's facing me now, so that I'll know where I was if I have to go back. And if I have to go up another space, I'll put another color. I have 3 colors, so I'll just put on the flash of the nut so I can make adjustments. And I just make a face at a time, or a flat at a time, if you guys follow me.
But that may be a lot.
Yeah.
That may a lot.
That's a good idea.
May be a lot of change. Yes.
Yeah. You got to know where you were, because like when we started raising that up, giving her more elevator, it's like, oh yeah, you know. this is good. And then all of a sudden, everything went to shit and it bounced, and so we had to know where to go to the last setting.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like, well, this is the best we can get it. Until it goes really bad.
That's why a lot of guys use the logbook.
Yeah.
Tom Morris has a very nice push rod setup where it has a right-hand side thread and left-hand side thread that threads into those plastic things. And those are great because you don't have to take apart anything. You just have to rotate the push rod a little bit in one direction or the other, and you are set. And then if you have a slider on the elevator to add or take away some elevator throw, you're set right there.
Yeah. On the elevator, I'll just put a line.
Yeah, the flaps you can adjust it from the handle.
Yeah, I watched Bob Hunt trim out his the Crossfire with the retracts when he first had that at the Nats, and he opens up his toolbox and he has slivers of lead that slivers that you wouldn't think would weigh anything. When he's putting slivers in the weight box to adjust the tip weight. When we adjust it, we put a quarter ounce in there at a time.
Same here.
There we go. Throw another quarter in there. Throw a quarter in there. He's putting these little slivers rolled up in paper towel, and he put back up in there. He fly. Once in the morning, put another couple slivers in there. And he's putting all these slivers in there, and I'm like, holy shit, about 6 flights. Then he's like, comes down, he takes one sliver out.
Paul Walker said that when the plane's out of trim, you can, add a lot of adjustment. But you got a lot of weight or whatever. When the plane's in trim, then it's a small, minuscule amount. Because in Paul Walker's trim article, he talks about putting, a tenth of an ounce or, the fractions of what I do. I put in quarter ounce weights in my weight box, and Paul Walker was talking about, a fraction of that amount. And he could sense it, which is something I can't even get my arms around.
Yeah, same with Bob.
Yeah, well, these are people that fly thousands of flights a year, and they're so in tune with the
How
plane.
big of a sliver you think he was using?
So I was saying that they're so
maybe a 32nd of an inch off a quarter ounce weight. It was nothing. It was just, I don't know how he even cut all them slivers. Rusty,
I think it might be an exaggeration. I don't think I can feel that kind of difference. It's just like, how is the plane going to respond to that kind of a slight difference? I know.
You talk about these guys with thousands of flights. There's a guy out here in the West named Bob Whiteley. And some of you may or may not have heard him, but he was, I don't know if he still is, but at one point he could watch you fly, and he'd watch you fly, and he'd tell you, he'd come in and say, "How'd that look, Bob?" And says, "Move your lead outs this way, this much, add this much tip weight to it. You should be okay." And you do it, and by golly, he was right. He could watch the plane fly and tell you what was wrong.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When you get so many flights under your belt, and you know how the plane responds.
Shavings, yeah.
You do so many trim changes to a plane, like for example, like lead out positions, you have a range, right?
I can promise.
So if you're
it's outside of my ability to feel it.
So if the lead outs backs are too far back, you pretty much know what to expect, and if you are too far forward, also know what to expect. So by just putting a flight on a plane, you go like, oh, it feels like the lead outs are back, or they're forward, they're right on, or whatever,
Right.
Just because you're flying, right? But people that don't know that, just the simplest thing is like make a change. Maybe you're going in the wrong direction, you're going to feel it right away. If you're going in the right direction, keep going in the right direction. Simple.
The thing that always got me with Bob Whiteley was he didn't have to fly your airplane. He just watched you fly your airplane.
Right.
There are people like that, you know.
Well, that was like when we were in Texas there for the team trials. Chris Rudd and Bob McDonald. Someone was with Samantha's airplane. They're like, "Yeah, you don't have enough tip weight stuff," and they're like, "You need to CG back further." And they would use clay and put a little piece of clay on it and see what it does. Add a little more, take a little bit off. After she got done, they said, "Okay, when you get home, weigh that clay and put that much lead in the tip box or wherever, you know." But you find adjustments with clay.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, modeling clay. Yeah, I have that. It's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, it's just a real easy way if you want to move your CG back a little bit, a little bit of modeling clay on it. And try and say, am I going the right way or is that the wrong thing? You know, if it makes it worse, peel it off and maybe you need a little nose weight. So, but I got modeling clay now, so opening up that tip box and changing tip weight. You know, it's just a little bit of modeling clay. If you like it, all right, put it in permanent.
Yeah. My goal right now is to when I go out and fly is to get to know the plane very well. You know, when I fly, to know exactly how much input I need to do everything and get my timing right and everything. So, I think I'm flying pretty solid right now, but I think if I do that, I'm gonna be even more relaxed and knowing exactly what I need to do and how I need to do it. Because in the past, I would do something and then I would do something stupid in the finals day, trying to change the way I fly or some.
What my buddy Wayne does.
Yeah.
He always carries clay in his flight box.
So no more changes. I just have to know what I have to do and how I have to do it. So that's that.
Yeah, if you got to practice at a contest, you don't feel the hurt.
Yeah. You are. Yeah, a friend of mine told me this. He goes, when you go to a contest, you know, if you didn't bring it, you're not going to find it there.
Yeah, Wayne always carried clay in his flight box.
The thing you need to do at a contest when you first get there, though, is you do need to get a needle flight.
Yeah, that's about it, right? But as far as trimming at a contest, it's too late.
What I found for myself is that I have to put one flight to dust the rust off.
Yeah.
Bob Barron used to, in between rounds, he'd put in 5 or 6 flights at the VSC. 5 or 6 flights, checking his trim, doing this. He was a dynamo that with whatever faults he did have. One thing about it you couldn't take away from him is he could fly.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I always say in any kind of a deal, and I did a lot with shooting, and I get Samantha to do it. Warm your eyes up. Get your eyes moving. You know, it's kind of like, you know, boxers or whatever. You know, they shadow box and the thing, they get warmed up, loosen the muscles up. You know, and it's the same thing with your eye muscles. You just, because first thing you do, you get out there and you know, maybe the top guys don't get nervous. But as soon as you grab that handle and you get ready to call for that plane to go, it's like, oh shit, you know.
That's me.
What am I doing here?
I get butterflies like mad before I go for an official flight. If I fly by myself, everything is cool, calm, no problems. Just put me in front of some judges and I'm shitting my pants.
No, that's the same with just about everybody. You know, the pressure's on. You've got to put your performance. My question is that, okay, you have all this adjustability. You can elevator throws, flap throws, wingtip weights, lead out adjustment, offset of the engine, offset of the rudder. It's gotten to the point where, all right, what can't be adjusted? But ultimately, what it always was, what always kind of like threw me is like, okay, how do you differentiate that you're just a shitty pilot and the airplane's flying just good and it's not a trim issue, it's just that you are not doing what you're supposed to be doing the proper way.
Well, that's always a possibility, Peter. That's always, it always could be the pilot.
That's where a coach comes in handy.
It's always better to be a shitty pilot with a good flying airplane than a shitty pilot with a bad flying airplane.
That's true.
Yeah.
You'd be much better off with a really good airplane. That's true.
Yeah, that's the truth. But ultimately, it boils down to, okay, you've built your plane. You think it's a good airplane. You think it's like flying the right way, but it's doing all sorts of weird things. And it's it becomes to the point where you have to have a coach.
Peter, define weird things.
And know it's you.
Peter, define weird things.
Back in the day, Peter, and you probably remember this, you build an airplane and you didn't have the adjustability and you didn't know anything about the adjustability. You used a rolled up empty glue tube for tip weight.
Yeah.
You went out and you flew the airplane and you learned how to fly around what was wrong with the airplane.
Yes.
And that was how you flew because you didn't have the adjustability. The adjustability came in. Now you were allowed to fine tune and everything. It's like NASCAR. NASCAR used to run old junkers that they got out of the scrapyards, I think. Now their cars are adjustable. They can tweak this. They can tweak that. They can get the most out of that car frame and that engine system. And we're doing the same thing with the adjustability of our airplane.
Yeah,
it's far and above over what we did back in the 50s. We're getting more out of it. You had to learn how to fly with all of the mistakes that were due to the airplane itself. You had to anticipate them and learn to fly around them. That's why you did get another airplane and you couldn't fly it as well as the one you'd been flying for a year or two.
Well,
Peter,
that's absolutely correct. You built it and you flew it the way you ended up building it because all that adjustability was not built in. But I still go back to the question is ultimately, okay, so now you've built an airplane that's got all this adjustability built in, and you're still flying around. Maybe perhaps, how do you even tell if you're flying around deficiencies in the airplane? Or trim issues in the airplane and just not your sloppy flying.
Because Peter, when you're flying and you gave the plane the input and it did whatever the input you gave it, or you're flying and the plane does its own thing. That's the difference. If you fly the loop and
that's what you need a coach for.
No. It's not what I'm talking about. It's about the cause and effect. If the effect is because you're moving your handle, or if the effect is because something else, right? Usually a well-trimmed plane is the effect is because you're moving the handle, right? It's not because of something else. A plane is not trimmed, the effect is because of whatever else.
I absolutely agree with you. And in certain let's say characteristics of flying, like you're going into your overheads or whatever, and the plane's coming in on you. That's a clear indication that there's something that the plane you need to do with the airplane. It's not something that you can correct for by you can step back, you can pull down on the handle and fly around it. But then there's you get in,
and that's where the adjustability comes in place. Being able to adjust stuff in your plane is going to help you. So, for example, the first thing I'll probably look over there is probably obviously probably at that point you probably already flew some squares with banging corners and try to see if the outboard wing drops or not or something like that. The first thing I would look over there, assuming that the engine run is fine, right? I would look at the lead out's position, and I'll probably try to move them back or forward. And if you don't know which way to adjust it, there you can go both ways and see if it gets worse or it gets better, right? And if it gets better, just keep moving in that direction. If it gets worse, So here's my theory about the lead out positions, right? If they are so far back, it's very far back, right? So for a far aft position on the lead outs, what you're gonna notice is the following, right? In level flight, it's gonna pull hard, right? As soon as you go on the top, even of top of a loop, it's gonna get soft, okay? And it's gonna go, as you go come down, it's gonna go hard again, right? So you get a hard, soft kind of very big difference between them, right? Hard and soft. As they move forward, it's gonna still pull pretty hard level, but you're gonna see that it gains tension on the top. As you keep moving forward, there's a point where you're gonna lose some tension in level of flight, just a little bit, right? But you're gonna notice that line tension that you have in level of flight is gonna be pretty even everywhere around, even on the top maneuvers, right? Now, as you move the lead out forwards past that point, what's gonna happen is gonna get softer, but it's gonna get softer kind of everywhere. It's going to get softer in level of flight. It's going to get softer in overheads and stuff like that. And you keep but it's so there's a point where the lead out where the lead out position and the line tension that you have on your handle, it's kind of even everywhere. And if you move past forward of that point, it's going to remain even, but it's going to soften as the further forward that you push it. So ideally what you want to do, you want to start with them back and keep going forward with them a little bit at a time and notice what happens, right? But you don't, there's a sweet spot. Now there's a second idea over there. Since you like to fly internal combustion motors, what happens, you have the fuel in a fuel tank, which kind of diminishes throughout the flight. So what happens over there? You have a CG that's going to wander, right? It's going to start forward and it's going to wander backwards throughout the flight, right? So now the idea is that, you're going to start, the relative lead out position is going to be towards the back, right? And then as the CG moves backwards, it's as if you move your lead outs forward, right? So that's the point where you're going to go put several flights and you're going to say, wait, what's going on here? I like it at the beginning of the flight, but at the back of at the end of the flight, like, I wish I had a little bit more of that. Or maybe the vice versa, right? So then you find your happy medium, like where you're happy with it. If you're flying electric, obviously nothing changes. The CG is solid. It's in the same spot from the beginning to the end of the flight. No changes whatsoever. So when you find your lead out position that you really like, it is going to work perfectly throughout the whole flight. There's no change over there.
No, and I absolutely understand. And that's one of the things that if you've been flying internal combustion for your entire modeling career, you know to expect that shift, and of course you have to adjust for it because obviously you cannot change your lead up position while the airplane is flying. It's just that I guess if you want to turn around and figure out, to get the airplane to where you feel it's comfortable, even though you might be flying really crappy, is to take it to the extreme. Then lead outs all the way back and then start moving them forward, or move them all the way forward and start moving them back where ultimately you think they should be on any given airplane. But then of course it gets your elevator throws and your flap throws and all of this stuff that it's like, okay, I don't know if I want to deal with that.
when we were flying internal combustion, we always trim for the first loop in the clover. You're almost empty of fuel, and boy, that it gets light on that for starting at a 45 and doing that first loop. And if it'll keep tension there, that's enough for you. You can probably then fly the airplane through the. That's what Trey's saying. You get it so far forward, but when you get out of fuel, then everything goes mushy every place. So you almost have to have it on that first loop of the clover. It's good there, and you're gonna just kind of have to put up with everything, every other place, because you watch people all the time get blown out of the clover. That first loop, the next thing you know, that son of a bitch is behind them, and they're bringing it back around and trying to do the next one, and
Yeah, I would probably agree with you if I could ever figure out. Like I said during our chat on Friday, is I could never figure out the damn clover, and that's the one thing that I can pretty much pull everything else off.
If you don't have a good flying plane on that clover, that's probably why a lot of people get in trouble with a clover.
There's something to consider here. There's several ways of coming up with a good starting position for your lead ups. That doesn't mean you have to have it all the way back or all the way forward. There's a good starting position that you can determine. One of them is by hanging the airplane by the lead ups.
That's right.
And the other is there's a program called Line 3 that allows you to compute mathematically where it is. And there's a rule of thumb that Ted Thatcher taught was you find your mean aerodynamic chord, which is about the midpoint of the wing, and that's where you figure your CG from, the MAC, and you take the percentage of your stab and elevator. Say your stab and elevator is 25% of your wing and flaps. A good starting point then would be to set the CG at 25% of the MAC. Now, if you project a line out to your wingtip, you take your thumb width and make your center of your lead out one thumb width behind that line. Now, this is all rule of thumb to get you close, and it gets you darn close.
Is it because you use your thumb?
Yeah, that's right. For a rule of thumb. But it'll get you darn close. I have done that.
Some people have a lot bigger thumbs than other people.
Well,
yeah, look at that thumb of Charles there. Hell, he could have his airplane way off.
The thing is no matter if there's a quarter-inch difference between his thumb and my thumb, you're going to be close. You are going to be able to move it. But I found for me, using my thumb, very seldom do I have to make any major changes in my lead-out position.
Here's a little story that I wanted to say about.
Back down to if you're using any engine offset or if you're using any rudder offset. Typically, I like to keep everything 0, 0, 0. However, the only thing that I've ever done with my airplanes is on the vertical stabilizer, I've turned around and put the airfoil with the flat side and the curved side. So that kind of induces somewhat of a outside pitch, but that's about as far as I've ever gone as far as offset, at least not from the back. Back in the good old days, we used to stick a whole bunch of washers under the engine and a whole bunch of, rudder into the offset.
Well, yeah,
Peter, that is perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine. And again, I'm going back to what I said before, and I think it's
let me ask you how this is.
What was that, Rusty? Can you hear us, Rusty?
So I was saying that holds true for anything. Do a change and see if it goes in the right direction. If you go in the wrong direction, you're gonna feel it right away. And here's a little story about my first experience with the lead outs.
Hey.
I had a plane that had lead outs adjustments, and I didn't know what they were there for. And I said, okay, I have less line tension on the top. So I said, what if I move them backwards? I'm gonna get more line tension on the top, right? So I did that, and it got worse. And I said, that doesn't make any sense. Maybe I need more backwards. So I moved them more backwards, and it got even worse after that. I was like, this is not right, you know. And after that, what I did,
Hey,
I
let
put
me
them
ask
back
y'all
to
if
where it was
anybody's ever
originally.
tried what I do for the lead outs when I first made in the plane. I was asking, I wanted to see if any of y'all had tried.
Start with them back and
Never mind.
Start with them back, Rusty.
You're breaking up, Rusty. I don't know. Can you hear us
I
good?
don't think y'all can hear me.
No,
we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Keep going, Rusty.
Can you hear us, Rusty? Put
Can
your
you
thumb
hear
up.
us? No, he cannot hear us.
There's some kind of a big delay with him.
Yeah, it must be a big delay. It must be.
Right, Rusty, go ahead.
Put your thumb up, Rusty, when you can hear us.
He can hear us.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
Peter,
There was a huge delay there.
So Peter, what I would suggest is that it's almost obvious that your lead out positions are not in the right place. That's probably what I would do, and just try it out. You know, what I found out is that after that I put it where it originally was, and I noticed that it was just what it was before I started to make the changes, and I said, well, if I go in this direction, it gets worse. Let me try to go in this direction, even if it doesn't make any sense, right? And it did not make any sense to me. Why would I move forward if I have less line tension over there? I said, okay, what the heck? I'm going to try it out, right? So I tried it 1/8 of an inch forward and start to play with it, and it got better. And I said, I'm going in the right direction. So I go another 1/8 of an inch, and by the time I was done with that, I put several flights, very short flights, half a fuel tank at the time. And when I was done with it, I just like I was doing horizontal eights, popping into the whole, in a square eight, and out of a square eight, I just go straight into the triangles. Yes, triangles are fine, and then out of the triangle, I went directly into an hourglass. No laps, nothing that, and the plane stayed everywhere. And at which point I went like, holy smoke! So this is what thing is for.
I want to know is,
I had a Vector 40 that pretty much flew wherever I pointed it, but I didn't even have to touch the lead outs. But what I'm doing is I'm going to ultimately build this Sig Magnum, and the last Sig Magnum I built was like, and I didn't have it wasn't a problem having lack of line tension. It was a monster. In the level of flight, it was it was like holding on two hands flying, and it was like, no, this is not going to work.
Well, Peter, see, this is the trick here. So now, if you know how to adjust the lead outs, all you have to do just, if you have good line tension everywhere, then in order to soften that, just move them up a little bit, move it further forward. It's going to have a softer line tension, but still get it everywhere.
Okay,
you can fine tune that.
Rusty's back. Let's give him.
Can you hear us now, Rusty?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It gets to where you must have like a 30 or a 60-second delay.
Screw this. I'll just do a sound check when it's time to sign off and listen between now and then.
You're done okay now,
We want to hear you just like raise your, if we raise our hands and like, this is, can you hear us? Or, say something or whatever.
Yeah.
Because we're talking to you and then nothing, and we start talking about something else, and then you'll say something. Then we'll say something to you, then there's this 1 minute delay, and then you're answering our questions, and we're just like, wow,
But that's not happening right now. That's not happening.
Okay.
Now.
So
okay. I didn't know what was going on. So, because y'all sound fine. So, listen, I'll just listen and not talk. And when it's time to sign off, I'll get y'all to check my sound and make sure that it's working.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that it's working, what were you going to say about adjusting your lead outs?
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to know if anybody did what I did before the maiden flight, is to hang the plane from the lead outs, like put an Allen key through both rings on the lead outs and hang it, and then gauge it against something that I know is vertical behind the plane, and just look for a slight nose down attitude, maybe 2 or 3 degrees, and set the lead outs to where it hangs like that, and do that for the first flight and go from there.
I carry a little
simpler than that.
It's
easier.
What'd you say, Trey?
I said it's easier than that. Okay, find your CG on your plane. Put your 2 fingers underneath. Okay, see, my CG is right here, right?
Right.
And most 40 size planes, you could go perhaps an inch behind that on an exit of your lead outs. Go an inch. So it's plenty far behind, right? So it's less conservative. And after, as soon as you start flying the plane, this is what happens. If the leads are too far back, you're going to have good line tension here, very soft at 45, and kind of soft on the top, right? Okay?
Right.
What you do, you move them forward a little bit at a time. And you're going to notice you have good line tension here. You're going to gain something here. Whatever you have here, probably going to have on the top, right? As the lead outs move forward a little bit, if you go in the wrong direction, you'll feel the opposite, okay?
Right.
But it feels better, keep going in that direction. Okay.
Once I get it in the air after that first flight, that's pretty much what I do for adjusting them. But I was just wondering about that maiden flight. But so you say just put it a little bit behind the CG and start there.
Yep.
And
I mean, you have if the CG say it's on a spar, right? Go in a lead outs position, follow the spar to the tip if it's straight out, right?
Yeah.
Go 1 inch behind, put them over there. Plenty safe.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I'll try that.
I got a question for Tom.
Yep.
If you're a real buddy, why didn't you use your psychic power and tell me what was wrong with that car before I spent $21 on
it? Yeah. So. Yeah.
Sorry, Steve. I don't know.
You gotta spread the money around. Okay, you gotta spread it around. You can't.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom's figuring somehow that $121 is going to go north and get up there to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Here one of these days. Yeah.
So for me, there are about 4 things that are very, very important in adjusting a plane to its best of ability. The lead outs, the tip weight box, those are huge. And they have to do the overall flying of the plane, right? The way the plane flies, and then the flap to elevator push rod length and the throw on the elevator has to do with your personal flying style. So those are 2 different categories, kind of the way I look at them. One of them is going to make the plane fly and respond to your inputs exactly the way you want to do. So that's the flap to elevator push rod adjustment. Profiles are very easy because you can just remove it and twist it half a turn, clip it back in, whatever,
I got a question. The question is this. Is it too long a lines that cause the problem of the plane? Seems to have good tension everywhere. Does a nice square corner except for that last corner. And that last corner, it what do they call it? Gives you one of these. Is that too long a line?
What one of these?
What's one of these? Is it yawing or is it rolling out, rolling in? What is it?
It hits the bottom, and it's like it stalls. It wing drops.
Maybe too much tip weight. If the wing drops, it's
I mean,
probably
the
too
whole
much
wing
tip weight.
drops, or it rolls out, or rolls in. What do
No,
you mean?
It does. It's like it stalls, and it drops one wing, and then the other, and then it catches itself and flies out of it.
I think there's a couple of things that can happen over there. Maybe you baby the first three. You are soft, and then you go. Now you are getting ready for, oh, I can do this stuff, right? And
No,
you
that's-
hammer the bejesus out of it, and the wing drops, because it's too much input,
That's
and you
not
have
the-
too much tip weight. That's one of
not
them.
what's happening. What's
Possible.
happening is the plane hits this corner, slows down, slower, doesn't get up enough speed, comes down, and it's not going as fast as on the first corner.
So you think you're slowing down on the up, which is normal, right?
Right.
But then you go this way, and it's
It doesn't-
accelerating. It's
It
picking up
doesn't
the speed, or
accelerate
what?
enough to get there. Going down, the props holding them back,
Uh-huh.
and then you hit the bottom, and you're going too slow. You're going slower than when you're at the first corner.
It sounds to me like a bad motor run. I mean, the motor should just
No,
keep the
that's-
speed kind of constant-ish over there.
That's
If-
electric.
Yeah, but still, if you don't have the
yeah, that's
like,
The name of it is hinging.
yeah.
Oh, hinging. Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
too much. Just try a little bit less tip weight. What do you have to lose? Just try a little bit less tip weight and see what happens. So you might get better.
I think the reason why you're getting that and you're seeing that on longer lines is you're actually flying the plane too fast. And we've seen that too, that if you bring the lines in, you automatically got to slow the airplane down. And you're not overflying the tail or whatever. But yeah, we've seen that too. But I mean, with longer lines, you're adding lines on it to slow your lap time down, and that airplane is hauling ass out there. And I think actually, when you come out of that last one, you're coming down, you think it's going slow, but it's moving fast, and it doesn't want to make that turn real good.
Try to get a video, John. Do a video of your flight and turn off the sound, so you're not gonna get faked out.
Well,
and watch the speed of the plane in those maneuvers. And if you notice, it's noticeable that it shoots out too fast or whatever. Sometimes I don't know.
Well, the plane that this is the big problem with is the biplane, the 2-bit biplane that I've got, and it appears to be slowing down through the maneuver. Now it's got 800 square inches of wing area. It's got plenty of wing area. I believe that I may have it on too long a lines. I think that's what it is. But speed-wise, I don't know. It appears to definitely be slowing down through the maneuver.
Maybe the motor is struggling to keep up with it, well, in that case, maybe the airfoil is too thick.
No, it's quite thin actually. The total thickness of the two wings is about 1 inch and 7/8.
Oh, that is thin.
But this isn't electric.
At the time that I'm thinking on this, it was flying with a Stalker 81.
Oh, okay.
I know sometimes I find myself when I'm flying and I'm hammering the maneuvers really hard, the wing drops in inside and outside corners as well right now. And I know I want to take some tip weight out of it. But it kind of does it everywhere, especially if I go hard on it. But sometimes when I was going soft on it, soft, it was nothing happened. And then on the last one, which I knew I can hit it every day and I can go deep in it before I turn right. And I had to go hard on it to just get it to turn and stop right. And on those ones, it just like it would drop but that's because of me, because I was soft on the first three and a lot harder on the third,
Well,
on the fourth one.
I can try taking some tip weight out, and I think I'll prepare a set of lines that are a couple of feet shorter, and play with the difference between the two. I just was trying to pick your brains to see if I'm going the right directions.
I was afraid.
When I want to check
I was afraid of mine too, because of the same thing. I said, when you have a plane that's 53 ounces, I was like, it's almost in a territory of 40 size plane that has much shorter lines, and I was like, holy smokes, so how am I going to deal with this? You know.
Yeah.
But I found out that wasn't too much of an issue.
Well,
but
the
still,
biplane,
you know,
the biplane is over 65 ounces, probably 70, but it's got 800 square inches of wing area. So, you know,
so you probably full length 68, 69, 70 is probably fine.
Hey, I got a YouTuber comment on this. Phil Bailey says, try less pitch and more RPM because biplanes are notorious for hinging at that point.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. It's just an artifact of being a biplane. I mean, if you turn around and you consider what the bislob can do, it basically, the whole purpose of flying a bislob is to hinge it.
Well, yeah, but a bislov is set up with outrageous offset. You know,
if I want to check for tip weight, usually what I like to do is just fly level, and then when I get approaching downwind, bang, 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 and see if one side of the wing or the other presents. And if it does, then I flip over and fly inverted and hit it in the same direction, bang, 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 and see if it hinges in the same direction as tip weight. If it changes directions, then it's a flap or a wing warp or something.
That's a good suggestion. I haven't noticed any hinging at all anywhere except for that coffin corner, and that's where it presents itself. That's why I was thinking it was either tip weight, though I did remove some tip weight, but or the line length, and so I'm looking at you know. But I will try the running it faster with a. Did you say a less pitch?
More pitch. Yeah, less pitch and more RPMs.
See, I think that's going to slow it down because we had a vector. Dick had a vector, and if you flew faster than like 5.2 second laps, the thing did that. But if we slowed it down to 5.4, 5.5, it wouldn't throw that wing like that. Because the only thing I was thinking is, we're thinking is that going so fast, you're hammering it harder because you're coming at the ground anyway, and the speed's up coming down, and it doesn't want to make that corner because of speed.
Oh yeah, I've seen situations where line whip comes into play. You ever run into a line whip?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, the obvious thing is to shorten the lines or get lighter weight lines. I mean, you know.
What line width? What do you mean? You mean the different
whip?
Length. Okay, sorry.
Your line whip occurs when you're flying along and everything's good, and you give it a control, whether it's a loop, and the plane takes off this way, but the line keeps going, you know, and it pulls the wing because the line hasn't kept up with the airplane.
Yeah, it's amazing how much bow there is in those lines.
Yeah.
Well, John, the question I would have for you in that case, when you fly the plane, do you have a lot of bow in the lines? Because if you have a lot of bow in the lines, the whip cam is in place, and maybe you can say, hey, maybe my lines are too long in that case, right?
Yep.
But if you fly level and you have nice tight lines or something like that, and as you climb on top and it's soft, maybe a lead out position is also an issue, because as you gain line tension, and it may be the lines are tighter, so much less whip, right?
Yeah, well,
Too much.
This is a different airplane. then it's not the biplane we're talking about now.
Yeah,
I'm
so-
thinking
Too much bow in the lines.
too long.
Yeah.
It's a
Too much
25
bow in the
size
lines could
airplane.
trick you into adjusting your handle line lengths to compensate for it, because when it's bowed, it's pulling on the bell crank a little bit differently, and
Mhm.
you know, be careful about that.
No, the other thing is on a biplane, your lead outs are not usually situated the same way they are in a single wing aircraft. Basically, they're on one of the spars that attach the top and bottom wing, and they're coming kind
Yeah,
of like
right.
the center of the fuselage, so you don't have all that much adjustment on them.
Well, in actuality, the bell crank is mounted in the fuselage.
Yes.
And it's in the center between the wings.
Yep.
And there's actually a
spar.
There's actually how to put it, the flap horn comes out to an L crank, and so it now when it adjusts it, there's a pivot in there. The L crank now moves up and raises both flaps and lowered both flaps in relation to the bell crank. The elevator push rod comes off of the top of the L crank and goes back to the elevator, I think.
To be honest with you,
I got two lines.
John, I believe that the plane would probably fly better without the flaps.
Well, that's an easy way to get around it, but then you're not getting the benefits that you get from flaps in a sharp turn.
But you have two wings.
You're still not increasing the lift when you're doing a hard turn. That's what you get out. That's why you got flaps for on a stunt ship. Is it?
Yeah, but you need them on a biplane.
The biplane, I don't have but maybe 15 degrees to throw on flat, just enough to get a little increase in lift as it goes into the hard corner.
16 is about
Is there
perfect, I'd
flaps
say.
on both wings, top and bottom?
Yep.
What motor is that, Charles?
My new Stalker 81.
Well, it looks pretty.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd run that and get any damn oil and stuff on it.
I already got it in. I just want to put it in a plane.
It's too pretty to get dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to be in a glass case.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
I'll
excited.
put it in a glass case.
I was going to ask you, did you get that shirt for Father's Day?
Yes, I did. Can you guys
I
read
was
it?
wondering that too.
Yeah.
It hands off my daughters and my tools.
Yeah, I got one time that said dad with DADD. It was dads against daughters dating.
Yes, I'm that too. I need that shirt.
Gordon Delaney used to
Awesome.
tell me that when his daughter would bring home a new boyfriend, he'd always meet him there. He was at the kitchen table cleaning his shotgun.
That's exactly what I want to do.
That's what Steve does.
No, because today these kids are packing more heat than I can. You don't want to have a gun out. You might just invite a bad problem.
Did you guys hear that joke about this old lady is being pulled over by a policeman, and he's asking her for drivers and whatever, and she gives her concealed carry permit, right? And he goes like you have a gun on? And yeah, I have one in my glove compartment, and I have another one here in between my in between the seats over there.
Oh, gee.
And she goes, and I have a 38 in my purse. And the cop goes like, what are you scared of? And she goes like, not a damn thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Loved it.
Yeah, not
What is she there for another damn thing?
I had to go in. I had to go into the courthouse some years back, and at that time I carried a couple of combat knives in my pockets.
Oh yeah, that'll get you. That'll get you cold.
Oh yeah, and I forgot about them. I usually took them out of my pockets and left in the car when I had to go someplace like the courthouse. So I go in there, and there's these two officers there. I reach in, I pull out a one combat folder, and I set it in the tray. I reach over and I pull another one out, set it in the tray. I reach in the other pocket, I pull my pocket knife out and set it in the tray. He said, "What are you scared about?" Like he said, "Not a damn thing."
I remember leave them in the car.
Well, usually I'd leave them in the car, but I forgot that time.
There's a funny joke on Facebook. It's like this duck, this duck is asking a guy, "Got any bread?" "No, I don't have." "Got any bread?" "No, I
Hey, I
don't
got
have."
another comment about the flap thing. Phil says, "John, try unhooking one flap and see if it gets better or worse. Unhook the top one and see what happens."
I thought about that.
Also known as do something. If it's better, you go in the right direction. If it's not, you go in the wrong direction.
And if it turns out to be that, you always try. He also says try cutting the throw down if if you need to. But you said you've only got it set to a small amount anyway already. You said that.
Try stuff. Try stuff.
Well, on the biplane, I don't have low aspect ratio wings on it. Though lengthwise, they're not very long. They're skinny, but there's two of them. So they're high aspect ratio wings, but they don't act like high aspect ratio wings when you got one stacked above the other. They act like the leading edge of the forward one and the trailing edge of the aft one is your chord length. So
sounds like a pit special.
The amount of flap throw on there, it doesn't have to be much because, like you say, you got two wings. And 800 square inches is a lot of square inches, on that size of an airplane.
Try something.
And I purposely thought about the idea that I didn't want to go like a lot of them. They went like with a 2-inch thick airfoil on the top and bottom wing. That was overkill. I went the equivalent of a 1 inch on the top and a 1 inch on the bottom. Wound up with a total 2-inch, or thereabouts, for the airplane, which I thought was plenty enough and was probably too much for drag wise.
I had a buddy of mine that he was trying to do twins with in pattern, and he ended up just having the flaps on the bottom wing. He didn't worry about ailerons actually for pattern, but it was doing some weird stuff, and so he built a new top wing without any ailerons in it, put it on there, and it solved a lot of them.
Well, and that's the nice thing with my biplane. It's completely take apart. Everything comes apart, and so I can replace the top wing, for the time being. I can just lock the flaps that are up there and see if it makes a difference. But if it does, I can build a new top wing that won't have the flaps working. I also question whether or not I need more rudder, and that's another thing. I think some of the rudder may be being masked by the cockpit area.
Well, most of the turbulence, it's above or below your rudder.
On the new
what we got here
on the new biplanes in that, oh, I can't think of the guy's name in pattern. He put that wing on top right behind the canopy at Canard or whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
To straighten out the air out of both of them, because now you can't get your elevator out of the damn wing wash or whatever, because you got two of them there. One's making one turbulence. So he had put that wing on there to straighten that air out for the rudder.
Mm-hmm.
And you might want to try something like that.
That's not a bad idea.
I think that would work on pretty much any plane, and that's one thing I was thinking about. Actually, I want to ask you guys something. What do you guys think about the benefits of counter-rotating props? Because I'm wondering about killing the corner with those two propellers.
I've always wondered about that. I'd love to know.
Well, Tran, my feeling is this: the more complicated you make the airplane, the more difficulties you might run into.
Mm-hmm.
There's always,
yeah,
and I think you might have something about killing the corner. For instance, we design our airplanes to deal with the circular airflow off of the single propeller. We deal with the torque roll that comes inherent with a single propeller. We deal with these various possibilities in the design of the airplane. Okay. That's why I use down thrusters for precession. If I had the counter-rotating propellers, I wouldn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then I'd have a problem in my my prop drive setup, that I'd have to have two motors, one running inside a shaft with a ball bearing, driving one and driving the other, or I'd have to have a gearbox situation. It is all more complication.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you on that one, but I was thinking about, like, usually they.
I mean, that would be cool as all hell. I'm not. Don't get me wrong. People have tried it. People have attempted it, but it's the implementation of of getting really, true contra-rotating propellers that's always been. It's always been the how would I say the
well, the guy from Poland's now he's been flying it for a couple of years. I seen it at the World Championships. He seemed to fly it well. I don't know if it cornered harder, if he had to then make a more FCG or what he did. But I mean, the airplane flew well.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking even though you have two propellers over there that are 12-inch 3 blades or 12-inch 2 blades, and each one of them it's contributing on stopping the plane from cornering, from pitching, right?
Yeah.
And one stops it pretty good, but two of them on top of each other, and I was watching this guy flying a plane. Even though it's flying with the Igor system and stuff like that, have 2-3 blade counter-rotating props, and it was flying okay, very slow, but the corners were, there were no corners. Just like, is that the best you can do with that? Just like, but you probably have to sit over there on the flight line and compare identical planes, like two Sharks, one with counter-rotating props and one with none. So see which one is better than the other one, assuming that those guys know how to trim, and I'm pretty sure they do.
Tran, one of the questions that always comes to my mind when we start looking at these exotic systems like counter-rotating props is, why were they developed in full-size airplanes? They were developed so that they could put more powerful engines and have enough propeller to control the engines.
Okay.
The last of the Spitfires had counter-rotating propellers, and that was because they had these huge, high horsepower engines on them that you either had to have, like the Corsair had to have the bent landing gear so it could have a big enough for the horsepower it was putting out.
Okay.
So they could put counter-rotating propellers and run smaller diameter propellers, or propellers that they could at least reasonably have reasonable gear on it, things like that. That's what they're developed for. In the racing, the racing seaplanes, they had the counter-rotating propeller designs, and they were again to handle the high horsepower ratio. That they had to be able. They couldn't have the floats hanging down that far below the airplane to run one propeller that would handle that horsepower. You know, how big is the prop on an F8 Bearcat? You know, it's got blades, you know, like, you know, that wide, you know, half a yard wide, and I think it's 24 foot or bigger, 26 foot span from tip to tip. That it took that to handle the horsepower. We're not in that position at this point.
Yeah.
I don't think, you know, if we're looking at it for the countering the torque and things like that, there's other ways to counter the torque.
That's kind of what I was thinking, and I said, man, am I hurting for drive? Do I need more drive? And I said, no.
After that,
am I lacking for acceleration out of the corner? I said, I'm running a 2-blade prop, and I still say no. And then I start to look at the counter-rotating stuff, and I said, man, you have a motor plus you have a gearbox. This thing is pretty heavy now, right? Now I have 2 props, so now those are pretty heavy. Or if you go in the other direction with the 2 motors, now you need 2 ESCs. You need to independently output the stuff to the ESCs, and I'm scratching my head. It gets complicated. All of a sudden, I said, why do I need all this extra weight when I don't need it? I mean, I don't need that. I don't have a whole lot of gyroscopic precision, especially because the plane is kind of long and I have, a nice balance everywhere. I never noticed my plane yawing inboard or outboard in the maneuver at all. So I said, why do I need to cancel it out if I don't see it, if I don't feel it, and I don't have any issues with it? And I even went through different iterations, like going through like, well, I'm liking some line tension up on top over there, but then I figure out like it was just my lead out position. So as soon as I put my lead outs in the right place, boom, that went away instantly.
Right.
And I never got into a position where, like I said, well, I really, really want this, or I really, really need this. So I was just curious about what's the advantages of having them or not having them. Well, because I find more disadvantages by putting them in.
Give you an example of disadvantages, because now you have to learn a whole new procedure. Most of those often have a different diameter and a different pitch between the front and the rear blade.
Yes.
And that now you got to fine tune and trim that in. And some guys are motorheads and they like to play with these things. And that's fine. That's fine.
Looks like Gary's getting a crick in his neck.
I think he woke up.
Yeah. He needs to shut up. He talks too much, usually.
So yeah, I agree with you, Trey. And I if you got things like I say, there's ways to design out a lot of the problems.
Yeah.
We're not dealing with so much horsepower on our stunt ships that we need to, cut down our prop size.
Yeah. Did you?
I still like the twins, like Bob was doing.
Oh, Miss Ashley, yeah, that's something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see the video I put like before last session or something like that with the revolutions flying?
Yeah, I watched it.
You watched it?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Thanks.
Both of them.
Yeah. Oh, actually, which one are you talking about?
His airplane.
Those videos that I put on my plane.
I saw it.
Yeah. Well, no, the last one I watched was you. I think it was you hitting or you flying, not you hitting the flight box, but you flying it after you fixed it.
Yes, those ones. Yeah, there are
Yeah.
two videos that I put back after that. All right. Plane fly is great. I think so. Anyways.
Yeah, it looked good.
Yeah, it looked good.
Ultimately, if you want to build a scale airplane and enter it in scale competition, if you can do counter rotating props, you probably would win it hands down.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I was doing a Miss Ashley, I would definitely put counter rotating props. I would even
And it
question.
is so cool.
Now, if I were making a stunt Miss Ashley, I would again probably put the counter rotating props just for the because the original was like that. So
The wow factor.
What if you want to do a counter rotating prop? Is there an aftermarket gearbox you can get to?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Really?
Yeah, you can.
Himax motors make a counter rotating setup with two motors.
Do they?
And the guy from Poland is also selling a gearbox option for that if you want to go with a gearbox.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you
he's
can go
built
either
the
way.
whole setup, props, everything that he's worked out.
Yep.
Like I said, he flew well.
So what sort of power difference would you need between an engine that's pushing two props and an engine that's pushing one prop? You'd have to increase the horsepower a little bit, wouldn't you?
Probably
yeah.
more a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you're going to lose a little bit in the gearbox.
Or maybe just the ESC adjustment. If you do like Tryon preaches anyway, is overpower it to begin with. So, you know.
Yeah, you could probably use a bigger motor instead of a 45. You probably use a 50.
Yeah.
It's more diameter on the motor. I think
Well,
the 50
could you
would,
run two smaller props? If you're going to get more thrust out of two props than you do one prop.
I've always had a question about 3 blades and 4 blades. And just from what I've been reading, that 3 blades and 4 blades are less efficient than 2 blade props.
Seems like there'd be a cavitation issue.
That
is true. The advantage of 3 and 4 blade props is it has to do with
ground clearance.
No, it has to do with the balancing of the dynamic balancing. It has to do with the fact that a 3 blade will better balance as it's rotating than a 2 blade or a single blade.
Nah, I don't think that has anything to do with it.
Oh,
the only reason for which the internal combustion motors would use a 3 blade is because they want to load the motor properly. Otherwise, the motor is not going to run correctly.
I wish I could remember. I wish I could remember where I read it. I read a whole piece on that.
But that is true, right? Is what happens in IC motors is like you fly the plane and do a loop and see what happens when you do the loop. Does it stay in a 4 cycle all the time and it doesn't break in a 2 cycle at all? Then you have too much load on the motor. If the plane goes in a loop and it goes in a 2 cycle and stays in 2 cycle all the time without going from a 2 to 4, 2 to 4, 2 to 4, within the loop, then you don't have enough load. And for me, when the reason for which I switched to a 3 blade prop one time is because I had no ground clearance to put a bigger diameter prop. So I had to add something else. So I had to add another blade, and it's all about loading the motor correctly, because if it doesn't have enough load, it's going to go in a 2 cycle, it's going to stay there, it's going to run away on you. If it has too much
that's
load.
The reason we run a 3 blade on Samantha's plane is just for the reason is we'd have to lengthen the damn gear. And at the point to where it's so long now that when you land, it's all,
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you do? Do we add another inch to the gear and it's unstable on the ground, or do you go with a 3 blade? We went with a 3 blade.
Yeah, you can add load. You can add load in 2 ways. Either you put diameter or you put you add blades to it. That's all there's to it. But yes,
rotating
2 blade.
Discuss.
180 degrees apart. and those two lobes, 180 degrees apart, cause a certain perturbation. You know what I mean?
Turbulence.
And where not turbulence, perturbations means things happening. Whereas a three blade, they're what are they now? 120 degrees apart.
Yep.
And they tend to cancel out better than the two blade does. That's what, and I wish I could remember the article I read because it was quite enlightening. And I wish I could remember it better, but that was the gist of the thing, is that the three blade helps establish a better.
Well, yeah, because you got to remember when a blade is traveling down over traveling up, you get more bite.
Go on the downwind.
Right. So it's pulling harder on one side of that propeller than it's pulling on the other, and it's going.
Now use the same thing. You got a three blade, so you got one in the middle of the downstroke here. You got another one up here, just getting ready to go to the top, and you got this other one just coming up.
Yeah.
Now what's the balance? What's happening there?
Yeah, right. It takes off. It doesn't do this.
Right. That's the point.
Right.
But how is that possible?
But the thing is, what I was reading, and it seemed to be counterintuitive, is that a 3 or 4 blade propeller is not as efficient.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's running in the wake of the blade ahead of it.
Yes.
If you want efficiency, you go with the single blade.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that very, very interesting encounter. Like I said, I found it counterintuitive. And I guess like people are putting 3 blades on their stunt ships. And I guess it's just to say, hey, I don't have enough ground clearance for a 2 blade that's going to load that engine properly.
That's it. That's pretty much it.
Dennis Adamician knew the fella. He was Dennis. Ran a single blade propeller on a stunt ship. Worked fine. Worked good.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It's just got to be that long.
That long, and you got that weight for balance,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's that's another way of looking at it. That's why I stick with the 2 blades, and they work good for me. I never need more drive.
I run a lot of 3 blades. As you saw on that Torino I brought in, I have a little supply, a little cache of those unobtainium tornado props, which is a very good little 3 blade. It's only 10-inch diameter. But I get more thrust off of it because I do have the 3 blades. They're not as efficient as each blade by itself, but they're more efficient than a 2 blade. And they work. They work very well for stunt. In fact, back in the day, in the 60s and 70s, that was called the West Coast Power Setup.
Hey, Charles.
Yeah.
I don't want to bust your bubble or anything, but that shirt is going to do no good. I hope you know that.
That's why
you do know that, right? You already got wrapped your head around this. That's not going to do any good.
So you know what? I'm just lifting weights, and maybe that might do some good.
Especially the tools.
Yeah, make more than likely whoever she dates will have no use for tools, so you don't want to have to worry about that part of it.
I've got a tool chest sitting right outside. I've got a tool chest sitting right outside the door here, and I can't find any tools. The tools that are in there are the old crappy ones nobody wants to use. All the good ones are somewhere else. I don't know where.
I'm gonna borrow it. Yeah.
When my wife was alive, she needed a tool. She'd go there and grab. I don't know where she put them. They're in the house.
Well, that's like Braden was over today. He come over about 10 o'clock. He never left about 6. We worked on that boat and stuff. And I told him when he first started coming over helping me, I said, now, you're here just to pay attention to where I lay shit down because I can't find it again. I said I'm old, and I don't know why, but I can't remember where I put stuff.
Well,
yeah,
I figure as I get my shop set up, then I'm going to have to buy a lot of new tools because I can't find my screwdrivers. I can't find my cross point, my Phillips screwdrivers. I can't find half of my Allen wrenches. There's just a lot of stuff missing.
Wow, it's amazing.
At least you have drill bits.
Yeah, I got drill bits. Already bought those.
You know,
Yeah,
the sad part is I go to Harbor Freight and buy a set of screwdrivers, you know, it has like 20 screwdrivers in it for $12 or whatever. Right. The bitch is I lose the same screwdriver over and over and over.
Yes, the
one it's like use. That one Phillips screwdriver. That's not the big one. It's not the small one. It fits. I lose that all the time. And it's like, hell, I got all these other screwdrivers, just all kinds of them, and I still can't find.
It's the number two. It's the number 2 Phillips that is missing all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got straight blades and the small ones, and it's like the number 2 is gone. It's like they need a set of screwdrivers that come with like 5 number 2 Phillips and then a couple other screwdrivers you're never going to need because you're not going to lose them anyway.
Those are missing too for
man. I miss my JIS screwdriver. I had a must have been a 12-inch JIS screwdriver with a long shaft that I carried when I was working on copiers and kept it in my right front pocket all the time. It fit perfect. And I was working on something one day and blew the tip off of it when I accidentally got it across an electrical connection, and I can't find another. I can't find another one like it. And that's the best thing for Japanese screws, the number 2 JIS.
You probably get one on eBay.
Yeah, probably so. I hadn't tried hard enough, I guess. But
you know what? And I should have told everybody, and I got the damn things. They had a sellout on that at Hobby King. And it came with 3 of them, and it had that real nice number 2 JIS in it. That's beautiful downstairs. And I try to be really
used to be able
to put the damn thing in the same spot every time, so I won't lose the dumb thing.
Those things fit so good on the Japanese screws. You can walk up to the side of a machine and stick that screwdriver in a screw horizontally and let go, and it won't even budge. It just sit there.
It's
no cam out. No cam out like the American Phillips does.
Yeah, it's almost like the screwdrivers and stuff for gunsmiths. You ever use their? That's like them things just fit in there perfect. Nothing else fits the screws and stuff. You got to have them. But I mean, they go in and it's like you let them go. You know, they don't fall out or anything, and they're just.
And you never see a gold edge on a screw either.
Right. Yeah.
Have you ever had to deal with
the deal with the American Phillips is they're designed to turn around
to cam out.
Yeah. Cam out, so you don't over torque them.
Have you ever had to work with some of the British screws?
Jeez.
They've got about 4 or 5 different standards that they've used over the years.
Yeah.
And some people are still using the first generation screws into today. And you have a heck of a time fixing or getting into some of that. What was it?
Wentworth.
Wentworth.
But I'm trying to think of the not Weber. What was the British model airplane engine?
Irvine?
The Merco?
Irvine?
Merco. Yeah,
Merco.
The Mercos have got a thread on I believe it's on the crankshaft that you can't find a screw in the United States unless you find someplace that sells these old British standards.
Wow.
Probably Wentworth. Yeah.
I know Wentworth.
Yeah,
I used to work on Jaguars, and they used Wentworth back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, a buddy of mine from England, every time he goes back to England, he was there last year. He goes to rummage sales. and he tries to find Wentworth tools, different ones, you know. And those, like you said, they have like 4 different standards, and he got 4 different toolboxes with the different stuff in there because he's still into British motorcycles and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah, and you need them.
Yep. Yeah,
Guys,
you do.
He said that, I forget, was it Triumph or BSA? He's got both. But one of them, when they changed over, part of the stuff was one and part of the stuff was the other. You know.
see you guys.
Take
See
it
you,
easy, friend.
All right, Tryon.
Good night.
See you later, Try.
Bye.
Later.
But yeah, so he said that's crazy. You got to have 2 sets of tools to work on that one. I think it's his BSA.
Yeah.
That's about right.
He said,
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question about my screwdriver or my drill here. I hadn't read the whole book yet, but it's got a ring of numbers around here, and I thought, oh, torque settings.
Yeah.
But I can't find anything to release it or be able to turn it. Does anybody know what that is?
You pull on it this way, turn it.
That's what I thought about it. Okay.
Yeah, you should be able to turn it.
It might be a 2-hand job. You need both hands to turn the opposite
Yeah,
direction.
it looks like it. Looks like it. Maybe I just don't have the strength to pull and turn. I don't know. I'll read more about it before I get the channel locks out.
or have Holly do it for you.
You'll have,
Hey, don't laugh. She has to open all the mayonnaise jars.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
Hey, Rob, did you get a chance to work on your little, was it a Viper or Hyper Viper?
I hadn't since last week. I still got to do one more round of sanding doping, and that's it. It'll be ready for the paper.
Yeah.
But I started working on that chair, and I want to finish that tomorrow too, because I got an old beat up wooden chair that sits outside the back door that I go out and sit in when I talk on the phone or smoke a cigarette or something, and then it started falling apart recently, and I got it half taken apart out in the shop. It's cleaned up and a couple of pieces screwed and glued. I just need to go put one slat back in the seat tomorrow. So once I finish with that,
whatever you do, don't put spar varnish on it because you won't be able to sit in the damn thing for a month or you'll stick to it.
My pants will stick to it.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm not going to put any finish on it. It's not getting any kind of finish. It'll just rot like it is over time, but it's got a few more years of sitting in it.
Yeah, I thought about bringing them seats in the house and hanging them from the ceiling because every day I go back out there's like another 25 flies stuck to the damn thing. And I'm like, hell, I could use this for fly paper in the house.
Yeah, if it was, you'd have had to have stirred a little sugar into it. You could do that, stir some sugar in, put one more coat on it, and then hang it up.
They are actually today, they felt they're not all the way dry, but so much better than just yesterday. And I don't know.
If you got a heat lamp you could put on them?
I keep putting them out in the sun and flipping them over both sides. I mean,
Yeah.
it's 90 degrees here. I melt out there in the damn sun, you know. And
That ought to do it.
Steve?
Yeah, you'd think so. They were out there all day today, and me and Braden kept flipping them. And
Steve,
put
them in the back seat of your Honda and roll the windows up.
Yeah, that's probably what I should do.
That's a fast way to cure dope, too.
Yeah. Only thing is, I'd have them stuck to my damn seats in there. I don't know how to keep them elevated to where they wouldn't stick to anything.
Parchment paper. Parchment paper.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I probably should try that and really bake them.
Yeah. Should work.
Yeah, I could probably even put them in the back of my truck in the bed because I got a black tonneau cover on it.
Yeah.
And it really heats up inside that bed too. I couldn't believe how warm that got. You know, I thought it was just all because of the windows, the light shining through and heating up all your stuff on the inside, but it must be the sun shining on the metal and everything else. It just heats it all up.
Yep.
But yeah, it's getting better.
Good.
I told Braden, I said, yeah, I have a feeling within the next month you'll be able to fit in that boat and get out when you want to. I said, right now you go fishing in it, but you wouldn't get out of it unless you took your pants off.
Don't want to sit on it with your pants off if it's that bad.
No, it's getting better.
You'd be surprised what might stick to it, you know.
I'm hoping it, you know, I don't know if I can, you know, now that the motor don't run, but they were supposed to go up north and go fishing with Samantha's half sister there and husband and stuff like that. But they're renting a pontoon boat and they wanted to take that along. I'm hoping I can get it done, get the motor running and stuff like that, and they can take it this weekend. So we'll see.
Well, I've been working in here on my computer over here, the gaming computer. I've got the water cooler sitting there for the CPU. I got looking around, and it has a fan that bolts on to this side, and if I want it, and have a fan on both sides. And anyway, it should take care. There shouldn't be a problem with it overheating ever again.
Now, does that have a pump on it, or is it just the water flows just by warming and cooling and it falls?
Just by the heat convection.
Oh, okay.
They make them with a pump on it, but that costs a bit more than I wanted to pay it. I felt that I just need to get a little bit better cooling than what I could get with an air cooling setup, and so I figured I didn't need to go with one with a pump.
Hey, have you guys ever seen on TV this like how food is made or whatever, like on the History Channel or
How what is made?
How food
How
is
what
made?
is made?
I just kicked out here or something.
No,
I don't believe that John needs some water cooled CPUs. What are you playing there, John? Halo 4 or what? Or Grand Theft Auto or what the heck do you
actually?
Well, hey, you got to remember when you got to keep that list of who's naughty and who's nice. That's a lot of names, and you got to go through them fast.
You got to have instant access, you know.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise,
I don't play games on that computer. What I did do though is do CAD work on it.
Yeah, but I've got dual Radeons and I do not need a CPU. That's basically.
Yeah, but you don't know how fast he is at his CAD work.
Well,
I want a new computer.
The problem is it's a 6-core processor, and a 6-core makes more heat than a core. I think the 8-core makes less heat than the 6-core. I don't know for sure, but I noticed that there's a lot of them out there that are octo cores, 8 cores, and they don't seem to have that much problem heat-wise. But the 6-core for me, what it did was I was using, I'm not going to get it, but I was using the standard type that has a little thin thing with a cooling fan on top of it that pull cooling air through it. Well, that's kind of normal for most computers. But when it got hot enough that the glue joint, you got to have that glue joint. It has to be good to get the heat transfer from the CPU to the cooler. If you don't have it, if it breaks that, then you wind up with less than half of what you should have. So that being the problem, is it created that much heat that it did that. I decided to go with the liquid cool because I shouldn't have a problem at all. And if I wanted to run Halo, I could. Or if I wanted to run, I wouldn't mind getting Combat Flight Simulator again. I love playing with that.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to get out there and take a spad and fight off German Messerschmitts with it. Yeah.
Well, that's just like on my ESCs that I get. On the metal part, I always take a X-Acto and cut the rubber off around there. Everybody's like, "Why do you do that for?" I said, "You use rubber for insulation. Why would you put insulation on something you want to cool?"
Yeah.
You know, it all grips around. It looks pretty, but it's not. Oh man, I'm sorry, my allergies are just so bad right now. But yeah, I always cut that off to let it, let it cool down.
Yeah. Well, it's been a project. I built the computer in the first place. I love the case it's in. It's an Antec case, and I don't think you can get the case anymore, but it's kind of a neat case. It's got lots of cooling, lots of space for drives and things like that in it. It'll take, I think, 32 gigs of put in 32 gigs of RAM in it if I want to spend that much money. I think I've got 16 in it right now, which is more than enough for what I'm using. But
Samantha's boyfriend, he built one with his own case, and the damn thing lights up and changes color. And I'm like, oh my god.
Well, mine lights up, but it doesn't change color.
Oh, Tom's going to show us his
Tom's going to show us his.
Oh yeah, just lights up.
Look at that.
There we go. Oh, and it's got the skull deal on it.
Oh, is that the Alienware?
Yeah.
Alienware, yep.
No, Alienware. Yeah, he's got that on there too.
You're moving the camera around too fast.
Sorry.
Have you got connectors for the for?
That's a cool looking machine.
Yeah.
I want a new computer.
You
gotta get one.
My mind is not working. I'm trying to say.
Hell, Rusty, you should build your own computer. You've been in electronics all your life. You should be able to.
Yeah, Rusty, Dad, we're all building one.
I'm sick of building computers. I've built so damn many computers. I'm done. But the dryer went out today.
Oh
so
my god!
You got to buy a new dryer.
What went out on it, Rusty?
The timer. First, the knob cracked and it wouldn't turn the shaft, and so I was using it with pliers. And Holly was using it today too, and all of a sudden the internal mount broke and the timer fell loose and down into the back of the dryer, and now there's just a blank hole with nothing sticking through it. And I'm not going to fix it for half as much as a new dryer costs. I'm just going to get a new one.
Boy, Holly is strong.
Yeah, she's a brute.
We got to get a new refrigerator.
Oh no. Well, my best advice is do not get a Maytag. That's the worst refrigerator I've ever seen in my life. We had one and it only lasted for about 3 or 4 years. It was just a totally poor design and construction. And we've got I think it's a Whirlpool or something now. It works pretty well.
I don't know who owns Maytag, but whoever owns it if they just put the name Maytag on that refrigerator.
Yeah, it's probably built in China.
That was like,
yeah,
like Magic Chef. Magic Chef made ranges, and if you got a Magic Chef, because I bought everything with Magic Chef, and you could get like $600 off.
Mm-hmm.
But a Magic Chef washer was a Norge. Same with the dryer. And a Magic Chef refrigerator was a Whirlpool. Because Whirlpool owns the
KitchenAid has been a good brand in my experience.
Yep.
But we'll just get on the Lowe's website pick one out and have them deliver it. That's what I'm gonna do first thing in the morning.
I'm running a Bosch washer and dryer.
Oh, they're
and I'm
good.
just
Really?
sick to death with that Bosch.
Yeah.
I think my son's got a Samsung set. Really expensive stuff, but he's had to repair it a couple of times, and they look like just as much of a pain in the ass as the cheap ones. So I think $400 or $500 for 6 years or 7 years, and that's about what you got to plan on.
Yeah.
Computer's about the same thing. I get 6 years out of a computer.
Tom,
and
you
that's
can
it.
set up, send that to my house.
Okay. This is a good computer. It's just overloaded right now. Holly's work software, and I think the system resources are just really low. I've got to figure out. I got sysinternals, Process Explorer, and auto runs, and I need to just go in and start turning things off that will load on demand if she needs them, but won't load at startup. And I think if I do that, I could probably free up some resources that'll get this thing back in action. But right now, it's hanging by a thread.
Yeah.
Does that sound like a plan to you, computer guys?
It does to me.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like
the fact is, you should be able to have a separate startup, one for her and one for you.
Yeah, I know. But when we got this machine, there was no need for it. I asked her if she wanted her own account, and we decided no, we'll just go with one family account. I had no idea we were ever going to have this as a machine that she does her office job with, and so I can't go around gutting background resources now without being really careful.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
most of that stuff, if I disable it on startup, most of it'll start on demand that they'll want it.
Right.
Well, what I don't understand is these businesses want you to work from home. Why don't they give you your computer from work that you can bring home and work on?
This is the state of South Carolina that she works for, and I can't answer that, Steve.
You know what? That seems like that makes sense. Say, we're sorry, we need you to work from home. Say, okay, give me my computer. Now you got to go buy one. You work from home. It's like, how does that make any sense?
I think our broadband is sufficient.
Yeah.
Well, I know I'm considering stepping up my bandwidth because I think we got 40 megabytes here, but that's
kind of low.
Yeah,
that's even lower than the recommended by Jitsi.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, I think I can get up to 100 and something.
I've got 100, and I got 100 down, and I've got 10. It says 10 up, but it's actually doing between 11 and 12 up. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Well, I actually might get it to the point where I could actually share a screen.
I thought high bandwidth was going to cure all of my ills, and it worked better, but it certainly wasn't the grand improvement that I was expecting.
Yeah, my next door neighbor, he works in the cloud or on the cloud for some big company. But it's hard to believe all the computer parts that are laying there and stuff. And I'm like, damn, I said, you wear all that out? He goes, no, he goes,
obsolete.
He goes, they're obsolete, and I got to keep going faster and faster and faster. So he had, something new to his computer and stuff like that. And it's like, damn, But yeah, he says that a couple years and your computer is slow and there ain't nothing you can do until you get something that's a little bit faster clock speed and a little bit this and that and everything else, unless you got one that's so far ahead, so fast that you need a water cooler on it. You know?
Yeah.
Later on, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
The one I've got, if I need to
Big
go
tank of
fast now,
compressed liquid nitrogen in the backyard. So.
Yeah. Big old tank up there, all steaming and stuff.
if I need to go faster with the one I got, I just it's a new motherboard. I've got everything else there that is needed, but a new motherboard, or maybe one of the new CPUs, the Ryken or Ryko or whatever it is, might be in the future. But that's really about all I'd look at for going faster.
Fancy graphics card for CAD work.
Say what?
A fancy graphics card for CAD work.
Yeah, that's true.
Multiple monitors.
Well, I got big wide monitors, you know, and I can split screen on them. Yeah. Yeah, I got the same picture on my, not that one. Background picture. I got the same one. When you were leaning forward there, your shirt was compressed up, Tom. It looked like it said "still paying."
Still paying for my airplanes.
I don't know if
I like that shirt.
I don't know if you guys were seeing what I was putting up there before, but that is 3D, basically 3D CGI graphics, and it is a 6-core Dell mini tower. No, a single graphics card, no water cooling, and it pretty much does what I need. I can do AutoCAD, but ultimately this is one of the projects that one of the projects I'm working on. I'm designing an actual room. So and what I'm doing here is I'm doing this real time. As you can see this in the wireframe, it has no problems, John, rendering the wireframe. And then we can go and boom, we can go to texture to shaded solid. And I still do not have any problems pretty much getting in here and going through the whole thing. And this is far more complicated and with many more polygons than that you would be rendering for an airplane drawing. And I can tell you that because I can turn you on and show you the statistics on this. This is almost 2.5 million polygons to render this particular scene. Right, now I can turn around and I can click this and I can do Viper, and it will actually do a photorealistic 3D render of the whole thing, and I can animate it. But Peter, I don't have a water cooled machine. I do not have dual graphics cards. It's basically a Dell 6-core processor.
Peter, the difference is how many cores does your CPU have?
6.
6 core.
Yep, and I can turn.
You didn't have the problem that I had where it delaminated between the core and the cooler. And
no.
when it delaminated, the 6 core would get too hot and it would shut down. And it shut down. And when you're doing CAD work, when you do a shutdown without proper shutdown, you lose stuff. And so for me to repair it, I looked at it and I said, okay, I need to get the liquid, the glue that goes between them. I need to make sure I've got a good seal between the CPU and the cooler. And I may as well go with liquid cooled. I've read good things about it. And that's why I'm going liquid cooled with that 6-core, because I had a problem with heat that was caused by delamination of the surface there. So
all I know is my computer is so fast that I can screw everything up in half the time as with my old computer.
My computer's only half fast, to be honest.
What do you got
What do
here?
you got?
That's
This is
Roger.
Thermal compound, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You need to replace that dielectric sometimes. It does go bad.
Well, it went bad in 3 months.
Oh, ask you guys, you know that on that Discovery Channel, they show like how chocolate chip cookies are made and all this kind of stuff. And they showed how ranch dressing was made. And it was filmed inside of one of the factories just the next town over that I used to work in for their chillers and stuff and seeing to heat things up. And I seen that, I'm like, I turned it over and I'm like, man, that looks like Lighthouse. And sure as shit, it was Lighthouse there in Lowell, Michigan, when they were making dressings. That's all they do there is make different kind of salad dressings. But I thought that was pretty cool that they were showing how they make that salad dressing. But most of the time, I was looking at all that stuff from a lift up 30 foot in the air, working on pipes and heat exchangers and this and that and everything else. But
Well, Steve, hang in there. Pretty soon they'll figure out how to make drones get up there and do all that work for you. You'll just have to operate the drone from the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in your pajamas at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I'll lose the programming or something will delaminate and work.
And you'll have to get a liquid cooler for
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. Right.
So
well, guys, I think I'm gonna bail on everybody. It's 1 o'clock. So
yeah, I think we probably ought to call it. It was a pretty good conversation. Sorry, I had trouble earlier with my sound and everything. I'm glad I got that straightened out. That was getting really irritating. Because I keep talking and y'all couldn't tell I was talking until it was later. And
yeah. So, I still think you need to have Charles get on as a moderator and see if he still does that.
I need to call you, Rusty, and see how I can get on.
Yeah,
we need to talk on the phone anyway, Charles. I've been thinking about that for a couple of weeks now. Need to hook up and just have a chat.
The more people that get on here, the more you have problems. As people start signing off, all of a sudden your sound comes back. And
you're right. It's loading my computer harder than it's loading y'all's, I guess.
Right. And
I'm not sure how it works. I'd love to see a flow chart of exactly how this streaming works, but I've never seen it. So
yeah, I kind of think that's what's happening is we used to only have like right now we got 7 of us, and sometimes I remember when we got 9 people, it was like, wow, we got 9 people.
Yeah.
When I got on tonight, what was there, 15 of us in here?
Yeah, we've had 20 before. I mean, it's just
then your sound is all like crap. Everybody drops out. We're back to 7. You're perfect again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Rusty's also watching the YouTube side of things, and that might be complicating things.
So I was told by somebody else that runs 8x8 that I needed to get that chat box off of here and put it somewhere else to where I can read it. But maybe I'll get the tablet in here and try to run it separately or something. Still all going through the same modem though.
Yeah.
But
I just have Charles try to run it one time and then see if you have the problems. I mean, be a simple test. You could switch over halfway in between or whatever, doesn't matter. But I just kind of seen that at the beginning of the night when there ain't very many people on and you first get on.
Right.
It crowds up. We can't hear you at all. Everybody leaves and you're fine again. And you haven't done nothing different.
Right. I've rebooted a couple of times and sometimes it helps for a minute, but that's about it. Finally, it fills back up. Oh, Gerald Wimmer. Good night, Gerald. He watched us the whole time, I think.
Good night, Gerald. Yeah, so we got to, try that or have Sparky do it. Come on and start it and see if you come in and everybody gets on. And if if your computer goes to shit. But I have a feeling it's because you're the moderator. And
I think probably so, yeah.
you know, because why is it messing up now?
Rusty, what's a good time to call you Wednesday?
There's not really a good time on Wednesday because I'm up at before the sun rises and I'm at dialysis, then home, then taking a nap until supper time. So I tell you what, about 8 o'clock, about 8 or 9 o'clock Eastern time, PM would probably be great on Wednesday. And the only problem is Holly will be, Holly will be going to bed pretty soon. Let's do 9 o'clock PM Eastern time Wednesday, and see how that works out.
That'll be 6 o'clock. Okay.
Yeah, sound good.
But he doesn't look like I put him.
No.
He looks like a big boy. He doesn't look that tiny.
That's Peter. Okay. Okay, Charles, we got a date then, Charles.
We got a date.
All right.
Long distance.
Yep.
Yeah. This dating.
I'll be sure and brush my teeth and comb my hair.
Hey guys, before you sign off, I'm a grandfather again.
Congratulations.
All right.
Oh, that just happened? Is that what y'all were talking about?
Yes.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
You got a cigar to smoke?
No, not yet.
Okay.
How many grandkids?
Have a good night, gentlemen.
All right. Good night.
It's your first one, Peter?
No, it's the second.
Oh, second. All right.
Okay, folks, all you YouTubers out there, I'm going to sign y'all off first. And thank you for coming. We had some pretty good guys out there tonight listening to us and talking to us occasionally. So y'all have a great week. Do something fun. Come back Friday and tell us about it. Same bat time, same bat channel. And adios, amigos.
Thanks, Rusty.
Okay, man. We enjoyed it. Ending the